Chapter 160. Sima Yue chuckled and did not deny it. When she discovered that the Beast King was a sentient spirit beast, she was tempted. Moreover, it was a divine beast. Being able to cultivate into a divine beast in this land of exile, where spiritual energy was scarce, meant that it was relatively easy for it to cultivate. If it left this place, it might have better achievements in the future. Moreover, if she could have more mythological beasts, she would have more confidence when she went to the Sima family. But I don't intend to form a contract with anyone right now, the Beast King said. Besides, I have my clansmen. As their king, I can't abandon them. And you can't contract so many spirit beasts, right? Yes, you're right. I can't form a contract with many spirit beasts right now, Sima Yue said. But if you follow me, I can bring your people with me. I'll bring you all to see the outside world. You could take everyone away? The Beast King looked at Sima Yue and wondered if her words were true. Yes, Sima Yue said with certainty. You were able to become a Beast King, which means that your strength is much higher. In the future, you will reach that level before your clansmen. When the time comes and you leave, what will your clansmen do? Are you willing to be separated from them? But if you follow me, I can bring your clansmen. When the time comes to the world above, if they really want to leave, I can let them leave. The Beast King was tempted by Sima Yue's words. Her conditions were exactly what he wanted. He did not want to stay in the mountains forever, nor did he want to be separated from his people. But you can't form a contract with me, the Beast King said. You can't form a contract with a spirit beast that hasn't been tamed, right? Who says I can't? Sima Yue said. Since I'm a beast tamer, I can tame it. I am a divine beast. Ordinary beast tamers cannot tame me, the Beast King said. Little Rock, Sima Yue called out to Little Rock. Little Rock immediately released his divine beast aura. A divine beast? The Beast King finally realized that the little bird on Sima Yue's shoulder was actually a divine beast. That's right. Sima Yue was furious. So, do you believe that I can tame you now? The Beast King fell silent again. After a while, he raised his head and asked, If I follow you, how will you take away my clansmen? I have a place where they can live. I can say with certainty that the environment there is several times better than here. If you live there, your tribe's strength will grow faster. Sima Yue said, How can I trust you? I can swear an oath. The Beast King looked into Sima Yue's eyes and saw that she was not lying. He believed her and said, All right, I will follow you. I hope you will not disappoint me. Don't worry, Sima Yue smiled. After that, she let Little Roar reopen the enchantment and went in herself. She let Little Roar and Little Rock guard her as she began to tame the Beast King. Relax a little. Don't resist me, Sima Yue comforted the Beast King as she tamed it. Bei Gongtang and the others looked at each other and were speechless. Was this really a divine beast? How could it be so easily swayed by Sima Yue with just a few words? Actually, what they did not know was that after Sima Yue formed a contract with the Spirit Pagoda, her spirit had different degrees of affinity with others. As long as she was willing to get close to someone, there was basically no chance of failure. Even Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang, who were initially 1,000 miles away from others, didn't they still walk together with everyone in the end? Moreover, although her words were simple, her attitude was very sincere, making it easy for people to believe her. Furthermore, her promises were made using negotiation techniques from her previous life. Every point struck at its heart, making it unable to resist the temptation. If it had been someone else today, it probably wouldn't have had such an effect. Not to mention the contract, they might have been slapped flat by the Beast King right from the start. However, they could not be jealous of her. As for her achievements, they saw more of her hard work. Furthermore, she had helped them a lot. Sima Yue spent half a day taming the Beast King. Because they still had to pick up those spirit beasts, they had no choice but to delay their departure by 2 days. After forming the contract, the Beast King rose a level and became a 5th-level divine beast. Its strength was about the same as a 1st-level spirit paragon. It's actually a 4th-level divine beast. No wonder it took so long to tame. Wei Ziqi looked at the Beast King's grade and smiled as he sighed. Yue's beast taming ability is getting stronger and stronger. Bei Gong Tang said, yeah, that abnormal mental strength of hers. There's no way around it. I think that even a divine paragon might not be able to compete with her. Wei Ziqi said enviously. All right, you. Don't be envious of Yue. She's just an abnormal person. Fatty Chu took out a spirit fruit and took 2 bites, saying, think about it this way. If we compare our mental strength to the outside world, it's also an abnormal existence. Bei Gong Tang also nodded, agreeing. That's right. Think about how much stronger your mental strength has become in these 2 years. You couldn't even tame a saint beast before, but now you can already tame a high-level saint beast? You've risen by a whole big grade. This is also because Yue taught us how to raise our mental strength. Wei Ziqi looked gratefully at Sima Yue, who was currently leveling up. Every time they saw Sima Yue's grade, they would be shocked. Although everyone cultivated together and found spirit beasts to fight, Sima Yue's growth was faster than theirs. Furthermore, she did not lag behind in alchemy or beast taming. From Spirit Master to Great Spirit Master to Spirit King, they felt that they were already heaven-defying existences. However, Yue this brat was leveling up as fast as drinking water. Before coming here, she was a Spirit Master. Now, she had already surpassed it by a lot. If they knew that she had already become an Array Master, they would probably not be able to accept it. Sima Yue had said before that she was now like a sponge. She had to crazily absorb everything in order to become stronger as soon as possible. After a while, the light of leveling up finally dissipated. Sima Yue looked at the Beast King and said, let's go and pick up your clansmen now. I never thought that I would be able to level up after forming a contract with you. I've been stuck at 4th level Divine Beast for a long time and couldn't grow any stronger. The Beast King transformed into his human form and said happily as he walked in front of Sima Yue. That's not all. Sima Yue said, I just leveled up. Guang and the others also receive feedback. When I level up in the future, you will also receive feedback. Your strength will increase even faster. I've never heard of a contract having such an effect. The Beast King said excitedly, if there are any clansmen who are willing to form a contract with you, I'll let them find you to tame them. No problem. Sima Yue said. Taming her would also give her spiritual power. It would be beneficial for her. Right, what's your name? Are you from the Fox clan? The Beast King shook his head and said, I'm not an ordinary fox. Chapter 161. Not an ordinary fox. Sima Yue picked up the fox with both hands and looked left and right, saying, I don't see anything different about you. The Beast King jumped down, shook his body, and returned to his original form. A huge fox appeared in front of everyone. Following that, its tail turned from 1 tail to 2, then 3, 4. It only stopped when it turned into 7 tails. 7-tailed spirit fox. Looking at its 7 long tails, the 5 of them widened their eyes. Then, Fatty Chu and the rest turned their gazes towards Sima Yue. How could this fellow's luck be so good? Even a random spirit beast that he contracted had the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. Not only that, we 7-tailed spirit foxes have the bloodline of the 9-tailed spirit fox. Once my bloodline is activated, it is not impossible for me to become a 9-tailed spirit fox, the Beast King continued. Sima Yue was also surprised. She did not expect to encounter a 7-tailed spiritual fox. Ahem, you, what's your name? It took her a long time to find her voice. 1,000 Resonance. It sounds like a girl's name. Little Roar muttered at the side. Don't think that I won't dare to hit you, just because we share the same master. 1,000 Resonance's gaze towards Little Roar was still unkind. Come on, come on. Little Roar laid on Sima Yue's shoulder and stuck his tongue out at 1,000 Resonance. Since they're all my beasts, I can't be biased. 1,000 Resonance, you have to take it easy. Sima Yue grabbed Little Roar and threw him towards 1,000 Resonance. Previously, Little Roar was one of his own people. Even if he had no reason to, he would still help him. Now that both of them were her beasts, it had turned into an internal conflict. She didn't want to side with anyone. Of course, when 1,000 Resonance said that he wanted to beat Little Roar up, it was just for show. He wouldn't really want to kill Little Roar like before. Sima Yue watched as Thousand Resonance chased after Little Roar and beat him up before bringing him into the Spirit Pagoda. Thousand Resonance liked the environment inside the Spirit Pagoda the moment it arrived. It knew that Sima Yue planned to arrange for its people to stay here. It was a good arrangement to be able to follow it in the future. Satisfied, it brought Sima Yue and the rest to its territory. When they arrived, Yue realized that not all of them were seven-tailed foxes. Many of them were three-tailed, four-tailed, or five-tailed foxes. She asked Thousand Resonance and found out that the higher the bloodline, the more tails one would have. It was the only seven tails. No wonder it was their king. Knowing that their king had formed a contract with a human, the Spirit Fox clan was in an uproar. Many spirit beasts were against this. Sima Yue didn't care about their reactions. She left this matter to Thousand Resonance and started to look around. It seemed like the matter this time was more difficult to handle. Sima Yue had almost walked through the entire mountain before Thousand Resonance sent her a telepathic message, telling her that it was settled. She brought Wei Ziqi and the rest back. She did not know what Thousand Resonance said to them, but those who were previously very resistant were now not as resistant when they saw Sima Yue. Master, I have already spoken to them. Everyone will leave with you. Thousand Resonance said, and even if they leave in the future, they promise not to reveal your secret. However, I believe that once they go to the Spirit Pagoda, they will not want to leave. All right, then you guys see if there's anything you want to pack today. We'll leave tomorrow, Sima Yue said. It was quite far from the place they left. Furthermore, they had to pass through several territories of other spirit beasts. It was almost dark now, so it wasn't suitable for them to hurry. Little Roar had been beaten up by Thousand Resonance. He had been lying in Sima Yue's embrace the entire day, letting her hug him as a punishment for abandoning him. Now that he heard that they were going to pack things, this fellow became energetic again. He flew on 1,000 Resonance's back and said, "Brother, let's go. Let's go together." 1,000 Resonance couldn't help but roll his eyes. However, he still brought him to instruct his clansmen to move. On the morning of the second day, Sima Yue kept all the spirit foxes into the Spirit Pagoda. Just as 1,000 Resonance said, they liked the environment inside the Spirit Pagoda very much. Even a few spirit beasts that had some complaints before didn't have any complaints. Actually, in the entire Spirit Fox clan, there were only 30 to 40 spirit beasts in total. There were a total of 6 spirit beasts, 10 saint beasts, and the rest were all low-level spirit beasts. However, the low-level spirit beasts were usually young spirit foxes. Their strength had not increased yet. After rushing for an entire day, they arrived at their previous location. Thinking that they weren't familiar with the situation outside, Sima Yue and the rest waited until the next morning before letting Little Roar open the enchantment and went out. When they went out, 1,000 Resonance followed them. When he crossed the enchantment, he turned around and looked at the continuous mountain range. He didn't speak for a long time. Sima Yue stood beside 1,000 Resonance. She knew that he was feeling a little complicated. She leaned over and patted his head, saying, "In the future, the sky is high and the sea is wide, and the sea is wide. Since you're out, you should look forward." And 1,000 Resonance nodded and followed Sima Yue and the rest into the mountain. After leaving the enchantment, they felt that the spirit chi outside was denser than inside. It seemed that the enchantment had not only trapped them inside, it had also thinned out the spirit chi inside. I feel like I've been released. Fatty Chu took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Yue, there's still a year's time to the date we agreed on. Are we going directly or what?" Bei Gong Tang asked. "Ouyang, do you know the Sima family?" Sima Yue asked. Ouyang Fei shook his head, saying, "At least in South Yu, there isn't a large family with the surname Sima. Then we still have to search for a while." Sima Yue said, "Then we'll go directly. Along the way, we'll see if we can meet any spirit beast to train. We won't stay in the mountain to train. How about it?" "All right, we don't have a problem," Fatty Chu said. "We'll listen to you now. You can arrange it," Wei Ziqi said. Sima Yue looked at Ouyang Fei. Seeing that he had no objections, she said. Then it's decided. We'll go directly now. 1,000 resonance. Little roar. Both of you retract your pressure. Yes, master. 1,000 resonance and little roar kept their auras. Sima Yue and the rest then went on their way. It was said that their current location was not the center of Sophia Mountain Range. The real center had existences like sacred beasts, but that was not something they could touch now. So when they walked, they took a detour under Ouyang Fei's guidance. But even so, they met many sacred beasts along the way. Some did not have much of a reaction to them, while some chased them over a few mountains. For example, right now, there was a brown bear that chased them for a long time before giving up. Damn, it chased so fiercely that it caused this young master's shoe to fall off. Fatty Chu saw that he had lost a shoe on his foot and scolded angrily. Everyone then realized that Fatty Chu was wearing a shoe on one foot and was barefoot on the other. They could not help but laugh. Chapter 162. Book title: Zhang is so stupid. Are you a pig? Bye. Screw your grandpa, bear. There will be a day when this grandpa will chase you all over the mountains and break your bear paws. Fatty Chu scolded as he took out a pair of shoes from his spatial ring and changed into them. Because they were being chased just now, everyone and I panicked and didn't know where to go. Now, they had already deviated from their original direction. Ouyang Fei took out something similar to a compass and looked at the needle on it. He pointed to the southeast direction and said, "This way." They continued to walk in the direction that Ouyang Fei had pointed out. It had been a month since they left the land of exile, but they were still walking in circles in the mountains. However, according to what Ouyang Fei had said, this place was not far from the outside. Perhaps they would soon encounter people who would come here to train and hunt for treasures. After 2 days, they met their first human. Back in the Sophia Mountain Range, Sima Yue had taught them how to hide their presence so that the spirit beast would not discover them. This was a prerequisite for every mission she went on in her previous life. Everyone's talent was pretty good, and they had basically mastered it to the point of perfection. Something's happening. Sima Yue suddenly stopped and gestured to everyone. Wei Ziqi looked at their surroundings and pointed to the large tree beside him. The others immediately understood, and with a light tap of their feet, they flew into the dense foliage and observed the situation below through the gaps. After a while, a young man ran over with his spiritual pet. He seemed to be very tired. He leaned on the trunk of a big tree and gasped for breath. "Master, the scent of the purple fox is gone." The man's spirit beast sniffed around and said. When the man heard this, he immediately exploded and slapped the head of his spirit beast. "You lost him? You're so stupid. Are you a pig?" The spirit beast immediately looked at its master with an aggrieved expression. "Master, I'm a pig. Even if you're a pig, you shouldn't be so stupid." The man held his forehead as if he couldn't bear to look at her. PFFF. When Fatty Chu heard the conversation between the man and beast, he could not help but laugh. "Who is it?" The man looked up and saw several people standing on the tree. When did these people go up? Why didn't he feel it before? If he hadn't been looking up from under the tree, he might not have noticed them. Seeing that they had been discovered, Sima Yue and the rest jumped down and looked at the man and beast. The man's face and eyes clear. He didn't look like a bad person. Judging from the conversation between him and his spirit beast just now, this person seemed to be the type with a screw loose. The male was also sizing up Sima Yue and the others. He didn't look nervous when he saw a stranger. "Who are you guys? Why are you eavesdropping on us?" The man asked. "We were just passing by and heard some movement. In order to avoid trouble, we went up the tree." Fatty Chu said, "Brother, what kind of spirit beast is this?" Yue tease. Yue of Yu. Sima Yu didn't think that such an unremarkable pig would actually be the world's rare red three-eyed pig. She looked carefully and saw that there was a thin slit on its forehead. It should be the third eye that was closed. "I am Wei Ziqi. How should I address this brother?" Wei Ziqi cupped his hands and asked the man. "Ayue. Our names all have the word Qi." The man said, "I am Bai Yun Qi, a member of the Sangol mercenary group." Sangol mercenary group? Wei Ziqi smiled and said, So, it's a mercenary group. Are you guys here on a mission? That's right. Bai Yunqi nodded. You guys don't know about the Sangol mercenary group. You guys aren't from the West Moon Kingdom? They knew that this was the West Moon Kingdom's territory, because Ouyang Fei had come from the South Yu Kingdom to the West Moon Kingdom before crossing the Sophia mountain range to the Dongchen Kingdom. We are indeed not from the West Moon Kingdom. But how did you guess that? Wei Ziqi asked. We, the Sangol mercenary group, are one of the 3 largest mercenary groups in the West Moon Kingdom. But you guys didn't react at all when you heard us, so you definitely aren't from the West Moon Kingdom. Bai Yunqi said. If you aren't from the West Moon Kingdom, then how did you get here? Which kingdom are you from? We are from the Dongchen Kingdom. Wei Ziqi replied. Oh, so you're from the Dongchen Kingdom. Bai Yunfei nodded his head. Only then did he realize what was going on. Looking at them in surprise, he said, You guys are from the Dongchen Kingdom? You guys came from the western lands of exile? Wei Ziqi nodded his head. Didn't you say that you can't come out until you're Spirit King? Are you all Spirit Kings? Bai Yunfei looked at the group of people who were younger than him and felt quite shocked. No, we're not Spirit Kings. Wei Ziqi said, We're just lucky that we're here. Bai Yunfei let out an expression of understanding and nodded his head in relief. Like I said, my talent is already abnormal. How could there be anyone more abnormal than me? Sima Yue and the others looked at him speechlessly. What kind of personality did this guy have? How could there be such a narcissistic person? Bai Yunqi didn't seem to feel what they were thinking and continued to speak, but it wasn't easy for you guys to come out of that place. You didn't get torn to shreds by the mythological beasts. Your luck was pretty good. Brother Bai, we'd like to ask, is there a Sima family in the West Moon Kingdom? Sima Yue asked. Sima family? There is a Sima family in our headquarters in Peace City. Bai Yunqi said, What? Are you looking for the Sima family? Yes. There's something I need to find them for. Sima Yue said. That Sima family isn't anything good. What are you looking for them for? Bai Yunqi looked at Sima Yue and asked. They captured my family, so I want to save them. Sima Yue said. They didn't think that they'd hear about the Sima family's whereabouts so soon after coming out. This made everyone feel a little relieved. Capture people? This does seem like something the Sima family would do. Bai Yunqi said, But even if you guys go, I'm afraid you won't be able to save your family. Although that Sima family is a bunch of beasts, their strength is not bad. They have a few spirit emperors and even a spirit paragon. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to be so arrogant in this area. I naturally understand this, but that won't stop me. Sima Yue said firmly. Sai, since it's like this, if you guys aren't in a hurry, then wait for us to finish our mission. Then I'll bring you guys to Peace City. Bai Yunqi said as he admired Sima Yue's character of not caring about the dangers ahead for her family. There's no need to trouble you. You just have to tell us how to get to Peace City, and we'll use the teleportation array ourselves. Sima Yue declined. Bai Yunqi shook his head, saying, If you guys go by yourselves, you won't be able to use the teleportation array. Chapter 163. What? Sima Yue did not understand and asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Because you don't have any identification. Bai Yunqi said, To use the transportation array here, you need to show proof of identity. If you don't have one, you need to go to the city's Spirit Master Guild to open one. The people outside the land of exile were ahem. They didn't like the people from the land of exile. If they knew that they were from the land of exile, they might do something. If you follow me, there won't be a problem. You're a universal identity? Fatty Chu asked. The members of the mercenary group don't need to prove themselves one by one to use the teleportation array. When the time comes, you can just follow the members of our mercenary group. Bai Yunqi said. Sima Yue was reminded of her previous life, where she had to bring her ID card whenever she went out. She looked at the others and saw that they didn't care about her. She replied, Since that's the case, we'll follow you first. But won't this disturb you? It doesn't matter. We're here to carry out our mission anyway. We're almost there now. We just need to get the purple fox. Speaking of the purple fox, everyone recalled the conversation between him and the red three-eyed pig, and they couldn't help but laugh. Bai Yunqi knew what Sima Yue and the others were thinking. He scratched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, "Since we don't know where that purple fox went, I'll bring you guys to our campsite first." All right. Bai Yunqi led them towards the camp. On the way, he discovered something. This fellow's cultivation talent was extremely high, but he really had no sense of direction. His sense of direction was completely dependent on that red, three-eyed pig. So besides being a hunting dog, this red, three-eyed pig was also a guide dog. Everyone looked at it sympathetically when they met its owner. After walking for half a day, they arrived at a spacious area. There were more than a dozen tents set up in the middle of the trees. Seeing Bai Yunqi appear, the Sangol mercenaries all gathered around. A middle-aged man walked over and patted Bai Yunqi's shoulder. "Young master, where did you go by yourself? Everyone is worried to death." Sima Yue and the rest looked at Bai Yunqi in surprise. They did not expect him to be the young master of the Sangol mercenary group. Bai Yunfei looked at everyone embarrassedly, saying, "Uncle Li, I was walking around nearby and saw a purple fox, so I chased after it." "How could you chase after them by yourself?" Li Kuei gave Bai Yunfei a disapproving look. "What if you run into a mythological beast? What if we can't find the way and walk further and further away?" "Didn't I come back?" Bai Yunqi rubbed his head. "And I even brought someone back with me." "That's right. Let me introduce you. These are the friends I met in the mountains. This is Sima Yue, Wei Ziqi, Fatty Chu, Ouyang Fei, and this beauty is Beigong Tang." "Sima Yue? Are you from the Sima family?" Li Kuei looked at Sima Yue with an unfriendly gaze. No. Bai Yunqi hurriedly explained. "Yue and the others came from Dongchuan Kingdom. They are not from the Sima family." Sima Yue and the others thought that everyone would roll their eyes when they said that they were from Dongchuan Kingdom, but they never thought that everyone's expressions would change. "As long as they are not from the Sima family," Li Kuei said. It looked like everyone had a lot of opinions about the Sima family. "Yue, this is Uncle Li." Bai Yunqi pointed to Li Kuei and said, "He is the strongest person here." "Uncle Li." Sima Yue and the others followed Bai Yunqi and called out, "You guys can look around." Uncle Li said to them, then pulled Bai Yunqi over, saying, "Young master, I have some things to report to you." Bai Yunqi said to Sima Yue and the others, "Yue, Ziqi, you guys can look around. I'll be back soon." Sima Yue nodded. The five of them were strangers, so Li Kuei would definitely pull Bai Yunqi over to clarify things. As expected, after a while, Li Kuei and Bai Yunqi walked over and said to them, "Young Master Wei, we still have some unfinished business. You guys can wait here for a few days. Do you have any tents? If not, you can only squeeze with everyone." "Uncle Li, you don't have to worry. I brought my own tents," Wei Ziqi said with a smile. "Let's go. I'll bring you guys to set up your tents." Bai Yunqi walked over and put his arm around Wei Ziqi's shoulder as they walked toward the empty space. Sima Yue and the others nodded at Li Kuei and followed along. A man walked over and looked at Sima Yue and the others, saying, "Uncle Li, is it all right to let these people stay in the group? Young master wants to help them, so let him be. Anyway, even if these people have any intentions, they can't do anything." Li Kuei said, "But could they be people sent by the other side to gather information? You mean the domineering mercenary group?" Li Kuei said, "Yes. Their strength is not very strong. So how could they cross the Sophia mountain range? Coming from Dongchuan country, the dangers along the way are self-evident, but these people don't seem to have any injuries, so I think they might be lying." The man guessed. "That's possible." Li Kuei said, "According to what I know, the domineering mercenary group has also accepted this mission. If we complete it before them, then their hard work over the past few months would have been wasted. Keep an eye on them and see if they have any bad intentions." "Yes, Uncle Li." Sima Yue and the others were setting up their tents as they listened to Bai Yunqi talk about this mission. Only then did they know that they had already stayed in Sophia mountain range for a few months for this mission. Purple fox blood, Manette root, Western gourd. Is someone injured? Sima Yue asked. How did you know? Bai Yunqi looked curiously at Sima Yue. The things you found are all ingredients used to refine the blood-invigorating pill. So I think someone should be injured. Sima Yue explained. Yue, are you also an alchemist? Bai Yunqi asked as he looked at Sima Yue in shock. I know a little bit. Sima Yue said. You're right. This mission was issued by the City Lord of Peace City. He didn't say who it was, but we received bad news that someone was indeed injured. Bai Yunqi said, the revenge reward for this mission is extremely generous, so there are many mercenary groups who accepted this mission. Just like us, the 3 great mercenary groups, all of us have been mobilized. Who else from the 3 great mercenary groups besides you guys? Fatty Chu asked. The Flying Dragon Mercenary Group and the Domineering Mercenary Group. Bai Yunqi said, that's right. Since you're here, don't walk around casually. If you meet the Domineering Mercenary Group, don't say that you're with us. Why? Because our 2 mercenary groups have a deep grudge. Basically, we fight whenever we meet. If you let them know that you're with us, I'm afraid that they'll take their anger out on you. Bai Yunqi explained. Is it because we usually fight for missions? Wei Ziqi asked. Domineering Mercenary Group. Just hearing this name made people dislike them. Who knew what kind of mercenary group would have such a name? Chapter 164. If it's just about snatching missions, then there are no mercenary groups with good relationships in the mercenary world. Bai Yunqi said, we just can't stand seeing them using scrupulous methods in order to complete their missions. Moreover, they always like to rely on the fact that they're stronger than others to snatch missions from small mercenary groups. It's really unpleasant to look at. This mercenary group's character isn't good. Fatty Chu said, it's not just bad. Anyway, every time I see them, they fight. Bai Yunqi said, however, I heard that the people they sent this time are stronger than us. Even if I were to meet them alone, I would still have to avoid them. Otherwise, if I get killed by them, my father and the others won't be able to settle the score with them. So if you meet him, don't say that you're with me. And we understand. Wei Ziqi replied. After setting up the tent, Sima Yue and the rest chatted with the mercenary group for a while. Fatty Chu then said that he wanted to eat and was laughed at by the mercenary group. Fatty Chu saw that Bai Yunqi was also laughing and said, Brother Bai, if you're laughing now, don't eat later. Big brother, what haven't I eaten before? Why would I be envious of your food? Bai Yunqi said with a smile. Hee, let's see if you'll still say that when the time comes. Fatty Chu said. After he finished speaking, he looked expectantly at Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang. Sima Yue kicked him. If you want to eat, do it yourself. Don't look for us. This hand of mine is only good at forging. How can I eat good food? Bei Gong, don't you agree? I didn't hear anything. Bei Gong Tang smiled and turned her face to the side. Yue, you haven't cooked for a month. Now that you finally have time, please cook. Fatty Chu begged. Look, I've lost a lot of weight recently. I don't even have any meat on my stomach. PFFF, you only know how to eat. Sima Yue glared at Fatty Chu. All right, he really couldn't be considered a fatty anymore. Although Sima Yue said that, she still took out some food and prepared to cook. There were many people tonight, so she planned to make some barbecue so that everyone could work together. The spirit beasts that they were eating were the ones that they had killed before. Moreover, they were all prepared by Little Spirit and sliced into pieces. Are you going to make barbecue? Bai Yunqi asked when he saw Sima Yue and the others. Yeah, Yue's barbecue is delicious. Fatty Chu squatted beside Bai Yunqi, looking at the raw meat as if he was looking at plates of cooked delicacies. Who hasn't eaten barbecued meat before? The taste is just that, Bai Yunqi said disapprovingly. You'll know when the time comes. When Sima Yue took out the prepared grill, Bai Yunqi started to believe Fatty Chu's words. He had never seen such a grill before. Usually, everyone would just skewer them and roast them over the fire. No one had ever roasted them like this before. Bei Gong Tang had learned quite a bit from Sima Yue these 2 years, so the taste of the food she made was not bad. Very quickly, the fragrance of the barbecued meat wafted out. When the mercenaries smelled the fragrance, they all gathered over. After that, they all forgot about laughing at Fatty Chu and started to eat. Sima Yue and the 2 of them roasted meat, but it was not enough for so many people. Thus, she took out a few more grills and let everyone roast it themselves. These grills were all made by Fatty Chu according to Sima Yoyue's instructions. At that time, no one thought that Fatty Chu would really become a weapon refiner. After all, his personality was too different from a weapon refiner. However, they did not think that he would be so talented in weapon refiner. Although he was usually carefree, once he started refining weapons, it was as if his soul had changed. He became steady and meticulous, and really became a weapon refiner. Although he was still unable to refine a high-grade spirit weapon, he could still make a barbecue grill. In the beginning, Bai Yun-chi was still laughing at Fatty Chu. However, once he ate the barbecued meat that Sima Yue made, he could not stop. Seeing so many people coming over to eat, he chased them to one side and used the grill that Sima Yue had prepared to roast the meat himself. Those people could only helplessly do it themselves. Sima Yue and the rest taught those people at the beginning. When they got the hang of it, they did not bother with them. She and Bai Gongtang made a little more and went to one side to eat. Bai Yunqi came over and took 2 more skewers. After that, he casually laid down on the ground behind him and patted his stomach, saying, "Oh, I haven't eaten so much in a long time." Fatty Chu sat beside him and said, "How is it? Not bad, right?" "It's not just not bad." Bai Yunqi said, "This is the best barbecued meat I've ever eaten in my life." After eating and drinking to their fill, the mercenaries went back to rest. Because the terrain was limited, they squeezed a few people into one tent. Sima Yue and Bai Gongtang cleaned up the mess and also went to rest. Perhaps it was because of that barbecued meat that everyone became closer. The mercenaries were all smiling when they saw them the next day. They were probably all wondering when she would cook again. Li Kuei brought a portion of them out early in the morning to search for Zihu's whereabouts. The remaining people were on standby at the campsite. Bai Yun-chi brought Sima Yue and the rest to wander around nearby. He also told them a few things about the West Moon Kingdom at the same time. Sima Yue and the rest also listened attentively. Unknowingly, they were getting further and further away from the campsite. "Zihu!" Bai Yun-chi suddenly shouted and chased after her. He even called out the red, 3-eyed pig and said, "Hong Hong, if you lose her again today, I'll make you into a roasted suckling pig." Everyone saw a purple figure flash past in front of their eyes. After that, Bai Yunqi had already chased after her. The 5 of them were helpless and could only follow him. "Little fox, don't run. I won't take your life. I just want to borrow a bit of your blood. Don't run." Bai Yunqi shouted as he ran. The few people who were following behind almost stumbled and fell. It would be strange if she didn't run when you shouted that you wanted to take her blood. The 6 people and 1 beast chased further and further away. The campsite and whatnot had long disappeared. Squeak, squeak. Suddenly, Zihu's sharp cry came from the front. It seemed to be injured. Sima Yue and the rest hurried over. Before they even got close, they heard a burst of laughter. "Ha! I didn't think that Zihu would send herself to our doorstep. Captain, this Zihu really dropped from the sky. Once we catch this Zihu, our mission will be considered complete." "Haha, not bad. Captain, are we going back now?" "Go back?" "No. Wait a little longer. Wait until we take care of those people." Sima Yue and the rest turned a corner and saw a few people waiting in front. They were holding a Zihu in their hands and looking at them with evil smiles. Qinwu, seeing the people in the middle, Bai Yunqi's expression turned ugly. "Who are they?" Fatty Chu asked softly. Qinwu of the domineering mercenary group, a spirit overlord expert. Bai Yunqi said with a solemn face. Chapter 165. Looks like my luck today is not bad. Not only did I get the purple fox, I also got an unexpected surprise. Qinwu saw that there were only Bai Yunqi and the 5 people he had never seen before, and he was secretly happy. If he could kill Bai Yunqi, it would definitely greatly damage the morale of the Sangol mercenary group. It would also cause his father to be unable to recover from this setback. Who asked him to be the only child? Qinwu. They are not part of the mercenary group. Let them leave. When Bai Yunqi saw the killing intent in Qinwu's eyes, he knew that today was a bad day. He subconsciously stood in front and protected Sima Yue and the rest. Sima Yue and the rest noticed his actions and looked at each other without saying a word. Little Bai, should I say that you're naive or stupid? Qin Wu sneered. You want them to leave so you can report to Li Kuei? Since you're here, then stay. With that, he waved his hand, and the members of the domineering mercenary group surrounded them. Qin Wu, have you thought about the consequences of your actions? Bai Yunqi yelled. If my father finds out that you've made a move against me, be careful that he'll bring people to destroy your mercenary group. Oh, you brought your father out. Your fiery father is indeed troublesome, so all the more we can't let them leave today. If they told others about what happened today, it would be a big problem. Smart people will nip trouble in the cradle. Qin Wu said. Bai Yunqi took out his weapon and said to Sima Yue and the others, in a while, I'll try my best to delay them. You guys aren't strong enough, so don't fight them head on. Find an opportunity to run. Do you understand? Then what about you? Fatty Chu asked. If you guys are able to escape, just tell Uncle Li and the others to avenge me. Bai Yunqi said. In a while, remember to escape according to the situation. Although Bai Yunqi looked down on their strength and made them speechless, Sima Yue and the others still took out their weapons. Since we came together, let's go back together. Sima Yue said. Of course, that includes the purple fox. Hearing Sima Yue's words, Qin Wu laughed out loud as if he had heard a funny joke. Captain, these people are saying that they want to leave together? I think we should send them to hell as soon as possible. A yellow-haired man said with a smile. Bai Yunqi turned around and saw that everyone had taken out their weapons. He said, I'm very happy that you think this way. However, we've only known each other for a day. There's no need for you to throw your lives away for me. Then why are you willing to risk your life to let us leave? Wei Ziqi asked. Bai Yunqi was stunned by the question, then said, I didn't want to implicate you guys. Team leader, this girl looks pretty good. Why don't we leave her behind to have some fun before killing her? A short and wretched man looked at Bei Gongtang lecherously as he spoke. Why don't we just attack? Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei were both warlike people, and the way these people looked at them made them very uncomfortable. You actually dare to say such words to our goddess. That's enough for you to die. After Fatty Chu finished speaking, he raised his fist and punched towards the vulgar man. Second grade spiritual king? Che, this young master, that man did not even put Fatty Chu in his eyes. However, he did not expect Fatty Chu to appear in front of him in a blink of an eye and punch him in the head, knocking him unconscious. When Bai Yunqi saw this, he knew that if he did not get rid of them today, Sima Yue and the others would not be able to escape. He said helplessly, that Qin Wu is a 5th grade spiritual overlord. I'm only a 3rd grade spiritual overlord. However, I can still delay for a while. You guys go and get rid of the others first, then come and help me. 5th grade spiritual overlord? Sima Yue looked at Qin Wu and said, Isn't he just a 5th grade spiritual overlord? I even thought that he had 1 foot in the spiritual saint rank. Otherwise, how could he be so arrogant? Arrogant brat. Qin Wu was very unhappy that Sima Yue looked down on him. Sima Yue kept her weapon and clasped her hands together as she cracked her knuckles. Her face was full of excitement. I've fought so many monsters, but I've never fought with a human expert before. TSK. Today's a good day for me to practice. Yue, can you beat him? Bai Yunqi looked at Sima Yue and was shocked by her words. I've never fought with a spiritual overlord before, Sima Yue said honestly. However, she had fought with quite a few sacred beasts. Then what's your rank? Bai Yunqi asked again. 1st grade spiritual overlord, Sima Yue said vaguely. Her rank could not be compared to Qin Wu's, but her battle prowess was not limited to that. 1st grade spiritual overlord? Bai Yunqi was shocked by Sima Yue's words. He did not think that she would be able to catch up to him at such a young age. Although your innate talent is not bad, when it comes to cultivation, there's an insurmountable gap between each level. Your rank is lower than mine, and compared to that old thief, you're 4 levels lower. You should go with Ziqi and the others. Wei Ziqi pulled Bai Yunqi over and said, If Yue wants to play, then let her play. First, come with us to take care of these people, then watch her play. But before Bai Yunqi could say anything, Sima Yue had already started attacking Qin Wu, while Wei Ziqi and the others also started fighting with the others. Damn, what's going on? When he saw that Sima Yue and Qin Wu had left, he turned around and saw that Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang had already taken care of one person each. Fatty Chu had also taken care of one person until he was dizzy and had completely lost his battle strength. These people clearly did not look very strong, but how could their battle strength be so abnormal? Furthermore, no matter if it was a close combat or a battle of spiritual power, every move they made was targeted and did not waste a single bit of energy. This was clearly the result of a long period of training. Seeing that they were fighting with such vigor, his hands also itched and he attacked the person closest to him. From the looks of it, today was not his day of doom, but Qin Wu and the others' day of doom. Very quickly, they took care of the 10 over lackeys, and they did not even suffer any injuries. Seeing the corpses strewn all over the ground, and then looking at the 4 people who did not even have much blood on them, Bai Yunqi felt as if he was in a dream. This was not even a duel, but a complete abuse. On Sima Yue's side, the 2 of them had already fought a few rounds, and Qin Wu no longer looked down on them, and his gaze became more serious. Sima Yue glanced at Wei Ziqi and the others, saying, "Your claws have all been cut off, and now you're only left with your fist." Qin Wu then realized that the domineering army had all been killed, and Wei Ziqi and the others were standing on the ground watching them fight. "Humph, you little brat. You dare to compare yourself to your grandpa Qin Wu? What happened just now was just an appetizer. Now I'll let you experience your grandpa's power," Qin Wu said as he formed a seal with both hands, and it looked like he was going to use a spiritual technique. From what he saw, Sima Yue had such achievements at such a young age, so she must have spent all her time cultivating and definitely did not have so much time to practice spiritual techniques. Use spiritual techniques? Just nice. I can test out the power of the Raging Inferno cut. As she said that, she placed both hands in front of her chest and quickly flipped them over. Chapter 166. Sima Yue had not been practicing spiritual skills for a long time because the book said that one could not practice them before reaching the spiritual king level. Therefore, she waited until she reached the spiritual king level before she started. She hadn't been a spirit king to a spirit master for long. Although it hadn't been long, her technique was quite proficient. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, dazzling people. If the people from the Sima clan were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. The reason why the Raging Inferno Slash was a high-grade, profound rank spiritual skill was not only because of its great power, but also because it was quite difficult to learn. The technique was much more complicated than the average spiritual skill, and it was also quite obscure and difficult to connect. Many members of the Sima family were not familiar with the technique, which affected the performance of their spiritual techniques. Qin Wu did not expect Sima Yue to know spiritual techniques, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. "I didn't expect you to know spiritual techniques as well. However, you'll soon understand that the difference in levels is insurmountable." Sima Yue sneered. "Is that so? That's a miracle you've never seen. Today, I'll show you how miracles are born." Then, the 2 of them stopped talking. Soon, the spiritual techniques in their hands were about to take shape. Qin Wu's was a metal-type spiritual technique. More than 10 swords floated in front of him. Under his control, they all pierced toward Sima Yue. Sima Yue took the form of a large blade. It looked a bit like Sima Lai's formation, but the difference in power and size of the blade was too great. But even so, her Raging Flame Slash was almost catching up to Sima Kai's. "Go!" Sima Yue shouted and swung her flaming saber towards Qin Wu's golden sword. When the golden swords came into contact with the flame saber, several of them were chopped into pieces. When Qin Wu saw that his golden sword was actually no match for her flaming saber, his hands continued to form seals, controlling the remaining golden sword to confront the flaming saber. Bai Yunqi, who was watching the battle from below, stared at Sima Yue with his mouth wide open. Even he found it difficult to contend against Qin Wu's strength. However, this fellow, who was one level lower than him, was actually able to deal with him so easily. Furthermore, even though he was standing so far away, he could still feel the heat from her flames. My God, how can this fellow Yue have such strong battle power? Fatty Chu laughed. If you cultivated in the Sophia mountain range for 2 years and fight spirit beasts every day, your battle power would also be this strong. You've been here for 2 years? Bai Yunqi looked at Chuzin's spirits. No wonder all of you are so powerful. Bai Yunqi sighed. Normally, when people came to the Sophia mountain range, they would look for medicinal herbs in the periphery or catch a few spirit beasts. Even if they came here, they would only come here to carry out a mission. Very few people would come here to train. Moreover, one bag would last for more than 2 years. Although Qin Wu's strength was higher than Sima Yu's by 4 ranks, his spirit skill rank could not compare to hers. Adding on to the fact that her spirit pool had been modified by Crimson Flame, it was much bigger than the average person's and had an abundance of spirit chi. That was why Qin Wu's remaining golden swords were slowly melted by her flames. Qin Wu's. He felt the blood in his throat. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth as he fell to the ground. Sima Yue looked down at Qin Wu. This fellow's battle power was only SOSO. It was different from what she imagined. She thought it would be a fierce battle. She didn't expect to win so easily. I've lost. Qin Wu's malicious eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised his head and looked at Sima Yu, saying, If you let me go, we can write off what happened today. I won't bring the domineering army to cause trouble for you. Sima Yu snorted at his words. I thought you had some brains. I didn't expect you to say something like that. You're already so old. Should I say you're naive or stupid? You're the type to seek revenge. Do you think I'll let you live to cause trouble for me? Smart people will kill trouble in the cradle. PFFF. Hearing her words, the spectators all laughed, especially Bai Yunqi. These were the words that Qin Wu had just said to him. Now that she had used them to attack Qin Wu, he felt extremely happy. Qin Wu's face darkened when he heard Sima Yu's words. He suddenly threw a weapon at Sima Yu and quickly retreated. But before he could fly a few meters, he crashed into a long sword. Qin Wu looked at the sword in his heart in disbelief. He then looked at the expressionless Ouyang Fei. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He clearly didn't feel that there was anyone here. So how did someone suddenly appear? Ouyang Fei pulled out his sword. Qin Wu clutched his chest and fell down. Even until his death, he didn't understand how he crashed into his sword. When his master died, his contracted beast that was fighting with the red three-eyed pig also roared and fell to the ground. The red three-eyed pig was fighting excitedly. Seeing its opponent suddenly die, it didn't react for a moment and just stared blankly at the corpse. Bai Yunqi's attention was attracted by the cries of Qin Wu's contracted beast. Seeing that his own pig was still in a daze, he knew what it was thinking. He shouted at it, "The master is dead, so the contracted beast is naturally dead. You can't even understand such a simple thing. Why are you so stupid? Are you a pig?" The red three-eyed pig saw Qin Wu's corpse and heard Bai Yunqi scolding it again. It ran over while whining. "I was originally a pig. You didn't even know this. So stupid, are you a pig?" PFFF. Hearing the conversation between the man and beast, the others couldn't help but laugh. Even the expressionless Ouyang Fei, who had just killed Qin Wu, couldn't help but smile. Fatty Chu and the others landed from 4 different directions. Bai Yunqi then realized that Ouyang Fei and the other 3 had all flown into the sky and occupied 4 different directions. "Weren't you guys talking to me just now? When did you guys fly up?" Bai Yunqi looked at the 4 of them curiously. "When Yue came down, we went up," Wei Ziqi said. "I guess you were too focused on it, so you didn't notice." "Was I that focused on it?" Bai Yunqi scratched his neck, a little embarrassed. Wei Ziqi and the others were able to silently appear in 4 different directions because they could quickly restrain their presence. However, he believed that he was too focused on it and didn't notice it. Sima Yue saw that Bai Yunqi was so easily fooled and sighed in her heart that this guy's thoughts were too pure. She walked to a place not far from Qin Wu and grabbed the injured purple fox. She carried it to Bai Yunqi's side and handed it over to him. Before she could say anything, she suddenly looked in the direction they had come from. A few people's footsteps came from that direction, getting closer and closer. Chapter 167. They must have been attracted by the fight just now. If it's domineering army or anyone else, then this matter will be troublesome. Bai Yunqi also heard Azurite's footsteps and said with a frown, if it was the domineering army, seeing their men killed, a fight would be unavoidable. If it were anyone else, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't spread the news, but they couldn't kill everyone who saw it. They weren't the kind of people who were ruthless. Squeak, squeak. The purple fox heard some movement and struggled weakly in by Yunqi's hands. Soon, a group of people came around the corner. When they saw who it was, they heaved a sigh of relief. Young Lord, Uncle Li, Bai Yunqi and Li Kuei cried out at the same time. Young Master, why are you here? Li Kuei saw Bai Yunqi and the corpses behind them and hurried over. We chased after Violet Fox and ran into the domineering army. Bai Yunqi said, Uncle Li, why are you here? Li Kuei was surprised when he saw Qin Wu's body. He glanced at Sima Yue and the other four and answered, we heard a fight nearby and were worried that it might be one of our men. So we came over to take a look. Young Master, are you all right? This is Qin Wu. Uncle Li, we are fine. Qin Wu was killed by Yue and the others. Bai Yunqi gave a simple recount of what had happened. When he learned that Sima Yue was already a spirit grandmaster at such a young age and had even defeated Qin Wu, who was 4 levels higher than her, he was extremely astonished. However, they also believed that they weren't sent by the domineering army, because Qin Wu held an important position in the domineering army. Even if they wanted to gain Bai Yunqi's trust, they wouldn't sacrifice Qin Wu. Thinking of this, Li Kuei cupped his fists at Sima Yue and the rest and said gratefully, Thank you for saving my young master. Uncle Li, you don't have to be so courteous. We are friends with Yunqi, and the other party also wants to kill us. We are only trying to protect ourselves. Wei Ziqi waved his hands and said, Uncle Li, don't be so courteous with them. Bai Yunqi said, rather than saying these words, why don't we go back and have a good drink with them? Isn't that right? Ziqi? Wei Ziqi smiled and nodded, saying right. Uncle Li, now that we've caught this purple fox, our mission is complete. When are we going back? I really want to have a drink with them right now. Bai Yunqi said as he handed the purple fox over to Li Kuei. It's still early today. We'll go back and gather our men before we leave, Li Kuei said with a smile. But before we leave, we need to do something first. What is it? Bai Yunqi thought for a bit. The quest had already been completed, so what else was there to do? Li Kuei waved his hand, and 2 mercenaries came out. They formed hand seals and conjured flames, burning the corpses of Qin Wu and the others to ashes. Qin Wu's status is extraordinary. If others find out that we killed him, there might be hidden dangers. It's fine now, let's go back, Li Kuei said. Bai Yunqi had an expression of understanding on his face. Sima Yue and the others had already thought of destroying the corpses before leaving, so they weren't surprised to see what Li Kuei and the others had done. Young Master, let's go back, Li Kuei said when he saw that the fire was almost gone. Okay, let's go back. After staying in the mountains for 2 months, there's already a layer of mold on our bodies, Bai Yunqi said as he stretched his body. Thinking about how Sima Yue and the others had stayed in the mountains for 2 years, he admired them from the bottom of his heart. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it. After returning to the camp, Li Kuei counted the number of people. When everyone returned, they put away their tents and left. There was still a few days' journey from here to the outside of the mountains. They had a lot of people, and their strength wasn't weak. Some spirit beasts would avoid them when they saw them, so their journey was very smooth. After a few days, they left the Sophia mountain range. Behind them was a mountain, in front of them was a city, and in the vast plains, they could see a city wall in the distance. Bai Yunqi pointed at the city in front of them and said, Yue, that's the closest city to here, Three Springs City. Don't think that this city looks so close, but it's actually quite far away. Sima Yuen naturally knew that on the plains, the surrounding emptiness would reduce the visual distance. Places that looked very close were actually very far away. This Three Springs City Lord is one of my uncles. When we get there, I'll get him to give you an identification card. Then you can follow us to Peace City. With the identification card, even if you leave our mercenary group, you won't be troubled anymore. Bai Yunqi said. Fatty Chu punched him on the shoulder and said, "How come I didn't hear you mention this before?" Bai Yunqi smiled and said, "I originally didn't plan on looking for my uncle. If my aunt knew that I came here without greeting her, she would definitely nag me again. Right now, I'm thinking of getting you an identification card. That's why I wanted to look for them." Everyone understood what he meant. Previously, he had only planned on bringing them to Peace City, but after a few days of interaction, he decided to get them an identification card because he had decided on them from the bottom of his heart. "Then we'll have to trouble you," Wei Ziqi said courteously. "Aha! Wait until we get to the city lord's residence. We'll have a good drink." Bai Yunqi saw that they didn't blame him and laughed loudly. "Let's go. We have to get to Three Springs City before sunset. If we close the city gates, we'll have to wait until tomorrow to enter the city," Li Kuei said. Sima Yue remembered that little roar was still behind them, so she turned around and whistled towards the Sophia mountain range. This little roar, he hasn't come out for so long. Could it be that he went to tease the spirit beast again? Bai Yunqi thought about how he saw a little roar teasing the spirit beast on the way and couldn't help but tease him. Sima Yue thought so too. This little roar's perverted heart didn't change even after being beaten up by 1,000 resonants. Wherever he went, he would tease her. As the owner, she was extremely embarrassed, but she was also extremely helpless. After a while, Little Roar's small figure finally came out from the mountains and pounced into Sima Yue's embrace. Sima Yue picked him up by the neck, but before she could scold him, he said, "Yu, I didn't go to tease the spirit beast this time." Sima Yue stared at him. "You didn't? Then you left for an entire day and only came out after such a long time. What were you doing?" "Yu, I realized that there was something wrong with the spirit beast in the mountains, so I went around the mountains." Little Roar said. "What's wrong?" Fatty Chu came over and asked. "I realized that for some reason, those spirit beasts have become very violent. Furthermore, the spirit beasts inside are all moving towards the outskirts, and there are quite a few of them," Little Roar said. Hearing his words, Sima Yue and the rest were still a little confused, but Li Kuei and Bai Yunqi's faces became serious. "Uncle Li, could it be the beast tide?" Bai Yunqi asked worriedly. "According to what I know, the beast tide in Three Springs City only passed half a year ago. How could it happen again so quickly?" Li Kuei said, "No matter what, there's movement in the Sophia mountain range. We should quickly inform your uncle." Chapter 168. The group of people sped up and finally arrived at Three Springs City before sunset. Fatty Chu and the others looked at the majestic city walls and were all shocked. It actually has such a tall city wall. Dongchun Kingdom's city wall is nothing compared to this. Fatty Chu exclaimed, "This city wall is probably 100 meters tall." Wei Ziqi raised his head and looked at the top of the city wall. It should be about there. It was Sima Yue's first time seeing such a tall city wall. Thinking of the city wall she had seen before, she felt that they were just child's play. Only Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang were calm. After all, it was not their first time seeing this. Actually, not all city walls are this tall, Bai Yunqi said. Because Three Spring City is close to the Sophia mountain range, the spirit beast here will have a beast tide every few years. That's why the city walls are so tall and thick. Beast tide? Is that what Little Roar said? Fatty Chu asked. I'm not sure this time. Bai Yunqi shook his head and said, in the past, it was very regular. This time, I don't know if the spirit beasts will come from within the Sophia mountain range or if they will come outside. No matter what, we have to inform my uncle first and let him be prepared. Let's enter the city, Li Kuei said. Sima Yue saw that the soldiers guarding the city were already shouting, urging those who had not yet entered the city to quickly enter and close the city gates. Thus, the group of people hurried in. Young master. When Sima Yue and the others entered the city, a man dressed as a manservant rushed in front of Bai Yunqi and hugged him as he cried, Li Si, aren't you at home being a door god? What are you doing here? Bai Yunqi wanted to push Li Si away, but he hugged him tightly. Young master, you're back. Woo-woo, if you didn't come back, Li Si's but would have burst open. Li Si hugged Bai Yunqi and howled. What's wrong? Were you punished by my aunt again? Bai Yunqi asked. Madam knew that you went to the Sophia mountain range, so she ordered me to wait here every day. If you didn't come, she wouldn't let me eat. She also said that if you didn't come, you would spank my butt. Li Si cried. Young master, you have to go back with me no matter what. Otherwise, Madam will not forgive me. How did Ani know that I went to Sophia? Bai Yunqi used all his strength, and finally managed to push Li Si away. Sima Yue finally saw Li Si's face clearly. He had a fair and clean face and looked to be about the same age as them. Young master, are you stupid? How could master and madam not know that you used the teleportation array to come here? Li Si wiped his snot and said, The moment you left, madam knew immediately. So she asked me to wait here every day for you. After waiting for 2 months, you finally came back. Woo-woo-woo. Young master, you have to go back with me this time. Otherwise, I will run away from home. Sima Yue listened to Li Si's words and looked at the way he interacted with Bai Yunqi. She could tell that his position in the city lord's residence was not as simple as a servant. Bai Yunqi patted Li Si's head and said, Poor darling. This time, I was going to find Uncle and the others. I won't run away again. Really? Li Si raised his head, his eyes shining. Let's go. I still have something to tell Uncle. Bai Yunqi said, Okay, let's go. Li Si wiped the non-existent tears from the corner of his eyes and turned to leave. This Three Springs City and Yin City were both cities at the edge of the mountain range. However, their sizes were very different. Yin City was not even half the size of Three Springs City. They walked to a corner, and there were a few beast carriages there. When they saw Li Si bringing people over, the coachmen all jumped down from the carriages. Greetings, young master. The coachmen all bowed to Bai Yunqi. Bai Yunqi saw the beast carriages and said, Aunt even prepared these. Since it's like this, Uncle Li, let's take the carriages over. Bai Yunqi and Li Kue boarded the first carriage and arranged for Sima Yue and the others to sit in the second carriage. The rest of the mercenary group squeezed into the carriages behind. The beast carriage sped off very quickly. Sima Yue and the others pulled open the curtains to take a look. It was only then that they realized that they were speeding along an empty road. Furthermore, the crowd was walking on both sides of the road. There was not a single person in the middle. It seemed that this was similar to the roads and sidewalks in her previous life. The beast carriages ran for about half an hour before stopping. Sima Yue and the others alighted and saw a majestic mansion. Is this the mayor's mansion? It's even bigger than the Dongchun country's imperial palace. Fatty Chu exclaimed when he saw the mayor's mansion. Bai Yunqi walked over and said, This was built by the previous mayor. My uncle and the others moved in after they came. The inside was not as luxurious as the outside. Young master, let's go in. Madam and the others are waiting for you. Li Si said, Let's go. Bai Yunqi said to the few of them. As they walked in, Sima Yue and the others found that the interior was indeed simpler. It was a completely different feeling from the outside. The outside was grand and majestic, but the inside was simple but not simple. The people who passed by all bowed to Bai Yunqi. Bai Yunqi also smiled and greeted everyone. It seemed that he was very familiar with the people here. Li Si brought Bai Yunqi, Li Kue, and Sima Yue to the living room. Another servant brought the rest of the mercenary group to rest. Young master, please wait a moment. Old master and madam will be here soon. Li Si gave the servant girl a look, and the servant girl immediately went out. Soon after, another servant girl came in to serve tea. Sima Yue looked at the decorations in the living room. Other than the necessary tables and chairs, there were 2 stone carvings placed on both sides of the room. There was a plaque hanging above the main seat. On it were the words diligent for the people. Sima Yue lowered her head and laughed. Diligent for the people? Why did this remind her of the emperor in her previous life? You little brat. You actually passed by here and didn't even come to Ani's place. Are you looking down on your Ani, or do you not want to see Ani anymore? Sob, sob, sob. You little brat with no chance of winning. A clear and crisp female voice was heard. Following that, a figure rushed in from outside and pounced towards Bai Yunqi, who was sitting opposite her. Bai Yunqi jumped up from his chair when he heard the voice. When the woman pounced on him, he jumped away, causing the woman to miss. Sun Lili saw that Bai Yunqi had actually run away. She put her hands on her hips and continued to shout at him. Sob, sob, sob. Little Chi-Chi wants to avoid me now. He doesn't even let me hug him. Sob, sob, sob. Ani is so sad. Sob, sob, sob. As she spoke, she pretended to cry in front of everyone. When Bai Yunqi saw that she was doing this again, he couldn't help but roll his eyes and say, Auntie, don't be like this. There are guests here. What guests? I don't care. Do you want to come over and let me hug you? Sun Lili looked at Bai Yunqi. It was as if she wouldn't give up if he didn't agree. Chapter 169. A middle-aged man came in from outside. Bai Yunqi looked at him as if she had seen her savior. She shouted at him, Uncle, come and talk to Aunt. When Wang Lei came in, he glanced at the people in the room and saw that his wife was having a fit again. He spread his hands at Bai Yunqi and said, You know your aunt's temper. If you don't let her hug you today, she won't give up. Auntie, Bai Yunqi glared at Sun Lili helplessly. She closed her eyes tightly when she saw Sun Lili throwing herself at her. Little Chi-Chi, sob, 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 you haven't grown up anymore. You're not as cute as you used to be. Sigh, it doesn't feel right when I hug you. After hugging Bai Yunqi, Sun Lili pushed him away in disgust. She then slapped him on the head and roared, You little brat, you didn't even tell me that you were going to Sophia Mountain Range. Ah, you've got guts, haven't you? Auntie, I just don't want you to worry. Bai Yunqi looked at Sun Lili helplessly and whispered in her ear, Auntie, there are so many friends here. You have to save me some face. At this moment, his uncle came to his rescue. He pulled Sun Lili to the main seat and said, Lily, there are so many people here. It's better for you to sit down. I'll let you off this time. Sun Lili sat down beside Wang Lei and smiled at Sima Yue and the others. Are you little Chi-Chi's friends? Sima Yue and the rest could not help but laugh when they heard her mention little Chi-Chi for the first time. Now that they heard it again, they still wanted to laugh. Ani, these are the friends I met in the Sophia Mountain Range. This is Yue, Ziqi, Fatty, Ouyang Fei, and Bei Gongtang. Bai Yunqi was already immune to the way Sun Lili addressed her. She introduced Sima Yue and the others to her one by one. You two met in the Sophia Mountain Range? Sun Lili glanced at them. I didn't expect that you guys would dare to come to the Sophia Mountain Range at such a young age. You guys are truly heroes. Madam, you flatter me. Wei Ziqi said on behalf of everyone. Ani, they are my saviors. Bai Yunqi said. Savior? Yeah. Bai Yunqi said, when we met Qin Wu in the mountains, he brought people to kill us. They saved me. Qin Wu dares to bring people to kill you? When Sun Lili heard this, she immediately became angry. She stood up and slammed her hand on the table. This domineering mercenary group is getting more and more daring. When I get back, I'll tell brother-in-law and let him bring people to destroy them. Sit down first. Wang Lei tugged at her and had her sit down again. Then, he looked at Bai Yunqi and said, Tell me everything in detail. All right. Bai Yunqi told Sun Lili about what happened that day. Sun Lili's expression only improved when she found out that he wasn't injured. When they heard that Sima Yue had killed Qin Wu, both of them were surprised. Thank you for saving little Chi-Chi. Sun Lili smiled and said to Sima Yue. Madam, you're welcome. Sima Yue smiled and replied, Uncle, this time I came here to ask for your help. Bai Yunqi said, Ask for my help? What's the matter? Wang Lei looked at Bai Yunqi. This girl had never asked for his help before. Cough, cough, it's like this. Yue and the others came from Dongchun country, so they want to get an identity card in Three Spring City. Bai Yunqi said, From Dongchun country? Sun Lily and Wang Lei's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. That's right. Bai Yin-chi said, Uncle, can you help us get this proof of identity? Wang Lei said, I can, but it will take 2 days to get it. Moreover, we need to find a place to hang it. The so-called hanging was actually similar to the previous life. If you hang it in Three Spring City, it means that you are a citizen of Three Spring City. Do we still need to find a place? We can just hang it in our residence. Sun Lily said straightforwardly. However, it will indeed take 2 days. Why don't you all stay in the city lord's residence for 2 days? All right, Uncle Li, why don't we wait for 2 days before leaving? Bai Yunqi looked at Li Kuei. Li Kuei had not said a word since he came in. At this time, he nodded and said, Everyone just came back from Sophia Mountain. It's fine to rest here. Moreover, if there's a need, we can help. Right, I almost forgot about the important matter. Bai Yunqi slapped her forehead and said, Uncle, when we came out, Yu Yue's contracted bee said that it found that the spirit beasts in Sophia Mountain were more violent. There was also a large group of spirit beasts from the central regions that were migrating to the outer regions. It seemed to be an organized migration, so we thought that it might be a sign of a beast tide. The spirit beasts are here. Wang Lei furrowed his brows. But it's only been half a year since this beast tide. There's still more than 2 years until the next beast tide. Why would it appear now? We also can't be sure if this is an internal matter among the spirit beasts or if it will form a beast tide. After we found out about this situation, we immediately rushed over. We thought that we should let you all know first. Bai Yunqi said. Wang Lei and Sun Lily looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. He stood up and cupped his fist to everyone, saying, This is a serious matter. I have to arrange for people to investigate. If it's true, I hope that everyone can lend a hand when the time comes. I'll go now. Lily, you take care of everyone. Goodbye. Everyone stood up and watched him leave before returning to their seats. Sun Lily also seemed to be very worried. The aura around her body unknowingly became stronger. It was obvious that the news of the spirit beasts made them very worried. Auntie, don't worry. Maybe those spirit beasts are just jumping around in Sophia Mountain. Bai Yunqi saw that Sun Lily was worried and comforted her. If that's really the case, then that's good. Sun Lily sighed, saying, If that's not the case, then this matter will be troublesome. How troublesome? Fatty Chu asked. In their minds, if the spirit beasts came, then it would be fine to just fight them back. They couldn't understand what they were worried about. Li Kuei opened his mouth and said, You may not have seen a beast tide before. Every time there's a beast tide, over 10,000 spirit beasts will gather. It's not something that these city guards can defend against. Every time before the beast tide, City Lord Wang will send people to invite a large number of spirit masters to help out. If there really are that many spirit beasts, then this must be a very dangerous matter. Fatty Chu looked at Li Kuei in shock. Those spirit masters are willing to come. Of course they are. Bai Yunqi said, Every time, the city lord will give those spirit masters generous rewards. Even if those spirit masters aren't willing, they will be willing just because of the rewards. Bai Yunqi's tone wasn't very good. It was obvious that she didn't like those spirit masters who came to help because of the rewards. Not all of them are like that. Sun Lily said, There are also many spirit masters who came with the intention of helping us defend against the beast tide. Speaking up to this point, she paused and looked at Sima Yue and the others, saying, If this really is a beast tide, I hope that you all can stay and help out. Chapter 170. Sima Yue was silent for a moment before saying, Madam, we still have things to do, so we can't stay here for long. If there really is a beast wave in the near future, we will definitely do our best. But if we have to wait for a year or so, then we can't wait that long. What do you need to do? Sun Lily asked. Save them. Sima Yue did not intend to hide the truth. 2 years ago, the Sima family captured my grandfather and brother. I made a 3-year agreement with the people who went there. I have to save my grandfather and brother before the 3-year agreement is up. So that's how it is. Sun Lily nodded her head in understanding and said, Then how long is it until the time we agreed on? Exactly half a year, Sima Yue answered. After spending nearly half a year in the imperial capital and 2 years in the Sofia mountain range, he only had half a year left. The Sima family is not a good person. Yue, who made the agreement with you, is that person reliable? Bai Yunqi hated the Sima family very much. She clenched her fists angrily. I made an agreement with Sima Lin. Sima Yue recalled what had happened back then, and a cold glint flashed past her eyes. Sima Lin, hearing this name, Bai Yunqi, Sun Lily, and Li Kuei all frowned. They didn't seem to have heard of this name. What's wrong? Is this person not good? Don't tell me he's the kind of person who doesn't keep his word. Fatty Chu's heart skipped a beat when he saw that their expressions weren't right. What is the strength of that Sima Lin? Sun Lily asked before answering. You were already a high-ranked spiritual emperor 2 years ago. I wonder if you've broken through to spiritual elder yet. Sima Yue looked at Sun Li's strange expression and asked, Is there a problem? Yu, as far as we know, this Sima family doesn't have a Sima Lin. Bai Yunqi said, There's no such person? How could this be? Sima Yue and Wei Ziqi were in disbelief. If it was really the Sima family, how could there be no such person? It's true. If it was someone who already had half a foot in the Spirit Paragon realm 2 years ago, then he would definitely be a famous figure in the West Moon Kingdom. However, the Sima family indeed does not have a spirit saint expert called Sima Lin. Li Kuei explained. How could this be? There's actually no Sima Lin. Sima Yue calmed herself down and asked, Then is there Sima Kai? Sima Ku? Not all. We've never heard of the people you mentioned. Bai Yunqi said, We live in Pingkong City with the Sima family. If there is such a person, it's impossible for us not to know. Sima Yue sat on the chair, unable to react. Could it be a mistake? The Sima family you're looking for is not the Sima family in Pingkong City? Bai Yunqi guessed. It's not impossible. Bei Gong Tang said, In the same continent, it's not strange to have a family with the same surname. Then do you know if there are any other large families with the surname Sima other than the Sima family in Pingkong City? Ouyang Fei asked. At least there aren't any in the West Moon Kingdom. Li Kuei shook his head and said, I don't know a family with the surname Sima. Sun Li said, However, if it's really that family, you'll have to face a huge problem. Which family is that? Fatty Chu asked. Sun Li thought about it and said, I once heard my husband say that there's a Sima family in Central Wu Kingdom. Hearing Central Wu Kingdom, Li Kuei and Bai Yunqi were shaken, saying, Could it be that you're talking about that family? What family? Fatty Chu asked. Actually, although it's said to be one of the 4 great empires, Central Wu Kingdom has many outstanding people and lands, far surpassing the other 3 countries. Bai Yunqi said, Even their power is much greater than ours. Why do you say that? Didn't I tell you before that the powers in Yilan Continent are divided into 3, 6, and 9 classes? Bai Yunqi said, Central Wu Kingdom has the most first-rate and second-rate powers. Then the Sima family. The Sima family used to be a first-rate power, but in recent years, they've been declining and have already become a second-rate power. Sun Lili said, However, as the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Although the Sima family is not as powerful as before, their foundation is still there, and it's not something that can be shaken by ordinary people. That's why I said that if you're looking for that Sima family, then your opponents will be huge. Hearing Sun Li's words, Sima Yue and the others fell silent. Previously, when they were in Sofia mountain range, Bai Yunqi had told them about the 3, 6, and 9 classes of powers. To be a first-rate power, that Spirit Paragon power would have at least 20 people and above, and at least 100 Spirit Saints. They controlled a lot of cultivation resources, and also had countless subordinate powers. If it was really the Sima family from Central Wu Kingdom, then it would be extremely difficult for her to save Sima Lai and the others from their hands. Other than these 2 Sima family, are there no others with the surname Sima? Wei Ziqi naturally thought of this point and asked with furrowed eyebrows. There are many people with the surname Sima, but there aren't many clans. We only know of these 2. Sun Lili said, If we haven't heard of them, then this kind of clan wouldn't have the power to cross the Sofia mountain range to capture your grandfather and the others. Then does Madam know what kind of spiritual energy these two Sima family members cultivate? Sima Yue asked. The Sima family in Peace City mostly cultivate the metal and earth attributes, while those in Central Wu Kingdom cultivate the fire attribute. Sun Lili replied. Fire attribute, Sima Yue muttered. Then it's most likely the Sima family from this afternoon. That's right. My husband also said that he was lucky enough to see a Sima family member from Central Wu Kingdom use a spiritual technique. The flames in the sky condensed into a large blade, and the power of that flaming blade was extremely fierce, easily killing a spirit beast. Flaming blade, Wei Ziqi and the others looked towards Sima Yue, as the technique she used that day was indeed a flaming blade. When Sima Yue heard this, she felt a little more certain. She knew that the Sima family in Central Wu Kingdom was most likely the one she was looking for. If not, Sima Lin had said that even if they retreated, there would be more powerful people coming. To be able to make Sima Lai follow them back without any resistance, they must not be an ordinary power. And Ouyang Fei had said that there wasn't any in South Yu Kingdom, and now there wasn't any in West Moon Kingdom either. There were only Northern Yin and Central Wu Kingdom. If there were other Sima family, Sun Li and the others who had lived for hundreds of years would definitely know. A first-rate power, even if it has declined, it's still an extraordinary existence. Sima Yue sorted out all these twists and turns and sighed in her heart. Looks like it would be more difficult to save her grandfather and brothers than she had expected. Seeing Sima Yue remain silent, everyone was worried. Bai Yunqi coughed twice, looked at Sima Yue and asked, Yue, if it's really the Sima family in Central Wu Kingdom, what do you plan to do? Chapter 171. Sima Yue raised her head with determination in her eyes. No matter who they are, they can't stop me. Since we made a 3-year promise, I will fulfill it as scheduled. Good. Sun Lili looked at Sima Yue approvingly. You have such a mindset at such a young age. Not bad. But what if that Sima family isn't the Sima family we're looking for? Fatty Chu said worriedly. Looks like we need to go there and take a look. Sima Yue said. You can rest assured and stay here for a while. Sun Lili said. You saved little Chi-Chi's life, so my sister and brother-in-law will definitely thank you properly. Since the Sand Gulls are one of the top 3 mercenary groups, they naturally have some influence. It won't be a problem for them to help you gather information. Can I? Sima Yue looked at Sun Lili. Of course. Bai Yunqi said somewhat excitedly. How could I have forgotten about this? You can have Father send people to investigate and see if that Sima family is the one you're looking for. What were those people called again? Sima Lai and Sima something? Sima Lin, Sima Kai, Sima Ku, Sima Qing. Sima Yue said. All right, I'll have people use the teleportation array to return in a moment. I'll have Father send people to investigate if the Sima family in the Central Wu country has these people. Bai Yunqi said. Then I'll have to trouble you. Sima Yue looked at Bai Yunqi gratefully. Young master, leave this matter to me. Li Kuei said. Then I'll have to trouble you. Uncle Li. Bai Yunqi nodded. Li Kuei stood up and bowed to Sun Lili. He nodded to Sima Yue and the rest before leaving the living room. Sun Lili asked Sima Yue and the rest some questions and chatted with them. She was a very talkative person with a straightforward personality. Sima Yue and the rest enjoyed chatting with her. After a while, Wang Lei came back. Seeing his wife smiling so happily, he sat down at the head of the table and drank the tea he had left behind before asking, What are you talking about? You look so happy. I was listening to Yue and the others talking about training in the Sophia mountain range. Sun Lili stopped smiling and asked, How did it go? I've already sent someone to investigate. We'll probably only know the results tomorrow, Wang Lei replied. Then we can only wait for the results. Sun Lili said, Oh right, how much do you know about the Sima family in Central Wu country? The Sima family of Zhongwu State? Wang Lei frowned subconsciously. He looked at Sun Lili and asked, Why are you suddenly asking about this? Sun Lili told him about Sima Yue in detail. Towards the end, Wang Lei looked at Sima Yue worriedly. Li Kuei has already sent people to find sister and brother-in-law. We thought that you might know something about the Sima family, so we asked. Sun Lili said. Wang Lei sighed and said, You don't need to investigate. You're looking for the Sima family in Central Wu country. Brother Lei, are you sure? Sun Lili asked. Of course I'm sure. Wang Lei said, I'm talking about the people who have met the Sima family. At that time, one of them was called Sima Lin and the other was called Sima Ku. Sima Yue and Wei Ziqi looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with happiness and worry. They were happy because they had finally confirmed Sima Lai's whereabouts, but worried because of the opponent's strength. This time would not be easy. Then how can we go to Central Wu country? Wei Ziqi asked. The countries here are not very strict. There is a teleportation array in the capital to Central Wu country. When the time comes, you can take the teleportation array. Wang Lei said, However, this teleportation array does not appear every day. It only appears once every 3 to 5 days. You will have to go to the capital to ask for the exact time. It's good as long as we can go. Sima Yue's anxious heart was half relieved. She hoped that there would not be a mistake this time. Bai Yinqi saw that they were almost done chatting and knew that Sun Lili and Wang Lei still had things to discuss. He said, Aunt, I'll bring Yue and the rest down first. We agreed before that we would have a good drink with them when we arrived. Go on, go on. They're your friends. You know how to greet them. Sun Lili waved her hand. You guys can stay in the mayor's residence for the next few days. Once your identity is confirmed, we can make our next plans. All right, then we'll have to disturb you. Wei Ziqi and the rest stood up and waved at Wang Lei and Sun Lili before following Bai Yinqi out of the main hall. Let's go. I'll bring you guys to have a good drink today. Bai Yinqi put his arm around Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu's shoulders and laughed loudly as he brought them out. In the living room, Sun Lili watched them leave and said to Wang Lei, Brother Lei, were you hiding something from us just now? Wang Lei raised his eyebrows and looked at Sun Lili, not saying a word. All right, you think I don't know just because you didn't say anything? Sun Lili stretched out her hand and pinched Wang Lei's nose, saying, When I saw your expression just now, I knew that you didn't say anything. What is it that you can't say in front of them? Actually, it's nothing much. I just heard that something seemed to have happened to the Sima family in Central Wu country in the past 2 years. For her to go and save her grandfather and the rest at this time, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. After speaking, Wang Lei sighed. If it was the Sima family in Peace City, it would not be impossible to save them. However, to go to the Sima family in Central Wu country to save them, that would not be an easy thing to do. I believe that Yue and the other children will be able to do it, Sun Lili said with some confidence. You believe in them that much? Wang Lei was a little surprised. He knew very well what kind of foresight his wife had. She had a very harsh foresight towards the youngsters these days. Before you came, we were chatting and realized that those 5 children were very different from the average youngster. Sun Lili said, Can you believe it? In order to leave the land of exile, the 5 of them stayed in Sophia mountain range for more than 2 years. Oh, many people will go to Sophia mountain range to gain experience, but the duration is usually a few months to a year. To be able to live in a mountain range for more than 2 years, they must have the calmness of a youngster. They must be able to endure the loneliness, and they must also be careful and have the ability. Otherwise, they would not be able to survive. Sun Lili analyzed. Wang Lei smiled. The 5 of them really do look different from the average youngster. That's right. How can my foresight be average? Bai Yinqi brought Sima Yue and the rest of the small courtyard arranged for them. He got someone to prepare some food and wine, and the 6 of them began to eat and drink in the courtyard pavilion. After 3 cups of wine, Sima Yue said, Oh Yang, I have a question for you. What is it? Dongchen Country, West Moon Country, South Yu Country, Central Wu Country, Northern Yin Country. I always thought that they were named according to their location. However, when I came out, I realized that Dongchen Country is actually to the west of the 4 great empires. Sima Yue said, That's right, it's to the west. Ouyang Fei nodded. Then doesn't that mean there's 1 less country? West Moon Country, South Yu Country, Central Wu Country, Northern Yin Country. Then what about the east? Is there no country? Sima Yue asked. Hearing her question, Ouyang Fei and Bai Yunqi's expressions changed. Chapter 172. Actually, north, south, west, and central are all named according to their positions. As for why there are no countries in the east, it is because that is the endless ocean. It is a vast ocean, so there are no countries. Bai Yunqi replied, A vast ocean? Sima Yue recalled that there were also 7 continents and 4 oceans on Earth. She did not find it strange and said, Then are there no people living in those oceans? I don't know if there are people living there. Ouyang Fei said, Because the ocean is more dangerous than Sophia, very few people go there. If there are people living in the ocean, no one will come to the mainland. It is actually more dangerous than Sophia? Fatty Chu said in surprise. Could it be that there are spirit beasts in the ocean? Of course there are. Bai Yunqi said, I once heard from people who came from there that the spirit beasts in the ocean are stronger than those on land. Moreover, many of them live in groups. Once you meet them, there will be thousands or even tens of thousands of them. Once everyone thought of being surrounded by thousands of sea beasts, they could not help but shiver. Everyone chatted and drank until midnight. Sima Yue returned to the room that was arranged for her. She forced out the wine and began to cultivate. If it was really like what Wang Lei and the rest said, that the Sima family was really a first-rate power, then her current strength was not enough. She had to use all the time she had to cultivate. She cultivated for 4 days. In these 4 days, no one came to disturb her. After 4 days, she exited from her cultivation state. She felt that someone was loitering outside. She opened the door and walked out. Bai Yunqi was loitering in the courtyard. When he heard that Sima Yue was not in the room, he did not knock on the door. Now that he saw her come out, he walked over in 2 steps. Yue, you are out. Yunqi, what's the matter? Sima Yue looked around and saw that the others were not around. She asked, Where are Ziki and the rest? They all went to the city wall. Bai Yunqi said, I was originally there too. After I received news from my father, I came to find you. I also wanted to see if you were still cultivating. Did you find out about the Sima family? Sima Yue asked. Right, Sima Lin, Sima Kai, and Sima Qing are all from the Central Wu country's Sima family. It seems like your grandfather should also be there. Bai Yunqi said, It's good that we have confirmed their whereabouts. Sima Yue said. At this time, roars suddenly came from the Sophia mountain range. She subconsciously looked in that direction. Is it a beast tide? Yes. Ziki and the rest are all on the city walls. Let's hurry over. I'll tell you the details on the way. Bai Yunqi was a little worried about the situation on the other side. All right. Due to the urgency of the situation, the 2 of them flew directly from the city lord's mansion to the city wall. It turned out that on the 2nd day after Sima Yue and the rest arrived at the Castellan's residence, the people who went to investigate came back with bad news. Just as Little Roar had said, the spirit beasts in the Sophia mountain range were all restless and restless. Many of the spirit beasts in the middle of the mountain range were moving towards the outskirts in an organized manner. This situation was slightly different from the previous waves of spirit beasts, but their destination was indeed Three Springs City. Originally, they thought that the spirit beasts would wait for some time before attacking. This was because in the past, it would take at least half a month for the spirit beast to arrive. However, this time was different. On the 2nd morning after the news came back, the soldiers guarding the city discovered that a group of spirit beasts had arrived. Wang Lei hurriedly gathered his men and went to the city walls. He discovered that the spirit beasts that came first did not attempt to attack the humans. Instead, they surrounded the city walls in an orderly manner. It was as if they were waiting for someone to arrive. Sima Yue and Bai Yunqi flew down. The people on the city walls saw them, but did not say anything. Although they were not allowed to fly in the city's airspace normally, it was a special time now. This was not something that everyone cared about. Yue, you've come. Bei Gong Tang and the others said when they saw Sima Yue land beside them. They knew that Sima Yue would sometimes take a long time to comprehend. So when they saw that there was no movement in her room, they told Bai Yunqi not to disturb her and waited until she woke up on her own. What's the situation like? Sima Yue asked. Take a look for yourself. Wei Ziqi moved aside, allowing Sima Yue to stand in front. Sima Yue looked down and sucked in a breath of air in shock at the scene below. So many spirit beasts. The spirit beasts below were densely packed. They seemed to have taken up all the space outside, extending all the way to the foot of the Sophia mountain range. There were hundreds and thousands of spirit beasts. Isn't it scary? Fatty Chu looked at the spirit beasts below and said, I'm wondering if all the spirit beasts in the Sophia mountain range have been gathered here. There's too many of them. With just a few of us, will we be able to hold them off? A spirit master's voice came from the side, sounding a little timid. It wasn't just that spirit master. This was the question in many people's hearts. With so many spirit beasts, would they be able to hold them off with just 1,000 spirit masters? Sima Yue looked at the people on the city wall and asked, Yin Shi, have you seen the previous wave of spirit beasts? There are always so many spirit beasts every time. Bai Yunqi didn't think that the number of spirit beasts would increase by quite a bit after she returned. Hearing Sima Yue's question, she shook her head and said, I've been here since the last wave of spirit beasts. At that time, Uncle said that the number of spirit beasts was the highest, but it wasn't even half of this. Wei Ziqi's eyes narrowed. The last wave of spirit beasts was only half a year ago. This time, it's not a normal wave of spirit beasts. Furthermore, looking at how the spirit beasts below are waiting in an orderly manner, it seems like it's organized by someone. Since that's the case, there must be a reason for it. We have to think of a way to find this reason. This might be the key to solving this problem. Hearing this, Bai Yunqi's eyes lit up. She patted Wei Ziqi's shoulder and said, Ziqi is right. Why didn't I think of this before? I'll go and tell Uncle. After speaking, she ran towards Wang Lei's location. Look, that black bear on the left in front. Isn't that the one that chased Fatty Chu off? Sima Yue suddenly pointed to the front and said. Fatty Chu looked over and indeed saw the bear that chased them in the middle of a group of black bears. What the F***, it really is it. Fatty Chu had a deep impression of this black bear. Before Sima Yue mentioned it, they didn't notice the group of black bears. Now that she mentioned it, he immediately recognized it. That black bear seemed to feel Fatty Chu and the others' gazes and looked over. It also recognized them at a glance. Roar dash! The black bear roared at them, but it didn't do anything. That black bear has a bad temper. Logically speaking, it should have attacked us after recognizing us. However, it only roared twice. Ouyang Fei said as he furrowed his eyebrows. It's already a divine beast, but still acting like this. That means... Fatty Chu's eyes widened, not daring to believe his own guess. Chapter 173. Sima Yue looked at the sunset of the Sophia mountain range and said faintly, Only someone of a higher level can make a divine beast listen to him obediently. Furthermore, he has the absolute power to intimidate others. Many people on the wall recognized the spirit beast's strength, so they naturally thought of this too. For example, Wang Lei, whose eyebrows were furrowed, and Sun Lily, who was standing next to him with a determined look on her face. The spirit master that was found at the last minute saw the spirit beast below and found Wang Lei. After saying something, he quickly left the city wall and flew into the city. That direction was the location of Three Springs City Spirit Master Guild. With the first person, there were a few more waves of spirit masters who chose to retreat at the last moment. It wasn't that the City Lord's mansion's offer wasn't attractive enough, but even if the reward was generous, one had to be alive to enjoy it. Some spirit masters couldn't help but curse when they saw those spirit masters retreating. They really wanted to help Three Springs City resist the beast tide. These spirit masters actually cowered in the face of battle. Fatty Chu looked at the spirit masters who were leaving with contempt in his eyes. If you didn't know Yin Qi, would you continue to stay here? Wei Ziqi hit the nail on the head. Fatty Chu rubbed his nose and said, There are so many spirit beasts. If it wasn't for Yin Qi helping you out, why would we stay here? We're not experts. Fatty, Ziki, Beigong, Ouyang, if a fight really breaks out, sit on your spirit beast and fight. Don't go down alone. If your spiritual beasts can't hold on any longer, don't engage in battle. Retreat, understand? Sima Yue instructed. We understand, Fatty Chu said. Our goal is to accompany you to save grandfather, not to die here. Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei also nodded. Sima Yue looked at the Sophia mountain range again and mumbled, Why do I have a bad feeling about this? The spirit beast below did not move, and the people on the city wall did not dare to act rashly. However, some of the bolder ones simply sat down and leaned against the wall to sleep. When Wang Lei heard by Yunqi's words, he glanced at Sima Yue and the others. Then, he sent someone out to try and communicate with the spirit beasts that were temporarily under their control. However, the mythological beast only opened its eyes to take a look before closing them again. It didn't say a single word from beginning to end. Seeing that the other party did not respond, the person who went to communicate with them did not dare to force them. He could only turn around and fly back. Looks like these spirit beasts have made up their minds. Before the spirit beast they're waiting for arrives, they won't move or speak. Bei Gong Tang said when she saw that the negotiators had returned in low spirits. I don't know what exactly happened that caused such a huge commotion among the spirit beasts, Wei Ziqi said as he looked at the Sophia mountain range. No matter what it is, it's definitely not a good thing. Fatty Chu said, Do you guys think that it's the boss of Sophia Mountain who did this? Otherwise, why would there be so many divine beasts? If that's really the case, then it's troublesome. I'm afraid that the entire Three Springs city cannot be protected. Wei Ziqi said, No matter what it is, I'm sure that we'll know the reason soon enough. Sima Yue said as she looked at the changes in the sky. Look, everyone, it's in the sky above Sophia. Someone cried out in shock. Everyone's attention was attracted by that cry as they all looked towards the Sophia mountain range. The last rays of the setting sun disappeared into the other side of the mountain. However, what shocked everyone was not the setting sun, but the rapidly forming dark clouds in the sky above the mountain range. Why would dark clouds suddenly appear? Is it going to rain? How could it be? Something must have happened in Sophia mountain range. What could have caused such a situation to occur? Why do I have a very bad premonition when the dark clouds suddenly cover the sky? While everyone was guessing, the dark clouds became nearer and nearer, but did not seem like it was going to rain. Sun Lily looked at the dark clouds above Sophia Mountain, and her eyes flashed with disbelief. She looked at Wang Lei and said, Brother Lei, could this be? Wang Lei's heart was equally shocked. He understood what Sun Lily meant and said, I really hope that it's not what we think it is. Otherwise, sigh. This was the first time Fatty Chu had seen such a scene. He subconsciously grabbed Wei Ziqi's arm and said, What exactly is going on? Why do I feel such a terrifying power from the dark clouds? Sima Yue called Little Roar out. Once Little Roar saw the dark clouds, he immediately cried out, Divine Beast Transformation. What is a Divine Beast Transformation? Fatty Chu asked. Little Roar did not hover by Sima Yue's side like before. Instead, he drilled into her embrace and explained, Once a spirit beast reaches the level of a sacred beast, it can transform into a human form. However, in order to transform into a human form, it has to go through the baptism of lightning. That means it has to be struck by lightning a few times. If it can withstand it, it can transform into a human form. What if it can't withstand it? Fatty Chu asked. If it can't withstand it, it will turn into ashes. SSS-. Fatty Chu was shocked by this extreme outcome. He looked at the dark clouds that were still thick and asked, Does every sacred beast experience this? Little Roar rolled his eyes at Fatty Chu and said, Of course not. Only those who want to transform into a human will experience this kind of lightning tribulation. This is something that a transformed beast can choose to do. If they don't want to transform into a human, they won't. When a sacred beast transforms into a human, it will trigger the heavens and attract the lightning tribulation. Then as long as they don't want to transform into a human, they won't experience this. Then why do those sacred beasts choose this? Wei Ziqi did not understand. Once a spirit beast transforms successfully, it will enjoy the highest glory in the spirit beast world. Furthermore, it is easier to cultivate in a human form than a spirit beast. Thus, many sacred beasts will choose to transform when the time is right. Of course, there are also those who choose not to transform. Little Roar explained. Then this sacred beast spirit is really praiseworthy. Fatty Chew sighed. Look at those dark clouds. Just looking at them makes us shiver. Let's not even talk about the lightning that will strike us when the time comes. Indeed, it is worthy of respect. Sima Yue said, however, what I'm more worried about is whether that transformed beast has anything to do with the spirit beast wave this time. Yue, why do you say that? Sima Yue felt the power hidden in the dark clouds and said faintly, intuition. The dark clouds above the Sophia mountain range became denser and denser. From time to time, a few bolts of lightning would appear in the sky, but they were not big. The people on top of the city wall all stared at Sophia mountain range's movements without blinking. The spirit beasts below the city wall all turned around to look in that direction. A few of the lower-ranked spirit beasts were already so scared that they crawled on the ground, trembling nonstop. Sima Yue saw that it was rolling nonstop, and there were traces of red in the middle. She said, "It's here." Just as she finished speaking, a bolt of lightning as thick as a water bucket fell from the sky. As if it had grown eyes, it directly struck toward a certain part of the mountain range. Chapter 174. Crackle. Even standing on the city wall, everyone could feel the power contained in the lightning. Just when everyone thought that the sacred beast would use something to dodge the lightning, a human figure suddenly jumped up from the mountain peak and welcomed the lightning head-on. Bang! The man's arm collided directly with the lightning, and many people closed their eyes. Fatty Chew's eyes widened as he looked at that figure. He smacked his lips and fiercely swallowed a mouthful of saliva, saying, "That person is the sacred beast that transformed? Yes, I can still feel the spirit beast chi on his body." Little Roar said. Sima Yue stretched out her hand and poked Little Roar, dog nose. "I can smell it from so far away. My sense of smell is much more sensitive than those dogs." Little Roar complained unhappily. Sima Yue looked at the Sophia mountain range. The shock in her heart was not small. To be able to directly resist the lightning, how strong must the sacred beast be? Not long after, the second bolt of lightning struck down. The power it contained was slightly stronger than the previous one. That sacred beast once again chose to soar upwards and extended his hand to shatter the lightning. Holy sh*T, this guy is too strong. If we were to meet it, we definitely wouldn't have any chance of survival. Fatty Chew held his chest with both hands, afraid that his heart would run out of his chest. Not knowing why, Sima Yue actually thought of the humanoid beast that was with Wu Lingyu when she saw the sacred beast undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Did it experience the same lightning tribulation? She shook her head. Why did she suddenly think of that person? Not long after the second bolt of lightning struck, the third bolt of lightning struck. For the first 3 bolts of lightning, the sacred beast had to face them head-on. Although he wasn't weak, he was still badly injured. After 3 bolts of lightning, the dark clouds showed no signs of dissipating. Instead, they grew thicker and thicker in the sky. Little Roar squinted his eyes and said, "The sacred beast's bloodline that is transforming is not low." "How do you know?" Fatty Chew asked. Although every shape-shifting beast will experience the same lightning tribulation, there are still differences. The higher the bloodline, the more powerful the manifestation lightning tribulation would be. The first 3 bolts of lightning were not weak. They were comparable to the bolts of lightning from a sacred beast. However, the clouds are still thickening, which means that the lightning will be even stronger later on. Little Roar explained. "I'm really curious about the body of that transformed beast." "I'm curious too," Sima Yue said calmly. "However, I hope that it has nothing to do with this beast wave. If not, it'll be dangerous." Wei Ziqi said. "There's no point in thinking about it now." Ouyang Fei hugged his sword and looked into the distance, saying, "No matter what, we're here now. There's so many spirit beasts outside. We can't escape even if we want to. Let's wait and see. If it's a blessing, it won't be a disaster. If it's a disaster, we won't be able to avoid it." Beigong Tang said. After a long while, the tribulation cloud sent down another bolt of lightning. This time, the lightning was even thicker than before. Everyone even felt that the entire earth was trembling the moment the lightning struck. How many thunderbolts are there in total? 9. Every 3 bolts of lightning are considered a small tribulation. The difference in strength is not big, but the strength of the 3 small tribulations is multiplied. Little Roar said, "This sacred beast strength is enough to handle the first 6 bolts of lightning. However, I don't know if he can handle the last 3. Many of them were turned into ashes by the last 3 bolts of lightning." Hearing Little Roar say this, the few people's hearts were raised. The first 3 bolts of lightning were already so powerful, who knew what the last 3 would be like? After breaking through 5 bolts of lightning, the sacred beast chose to accept the baptism of the lightning tribulation, allowing the lightning to strike its body. This was the first time many people saw the sacred beast shape-shifting. Seeing it take the lightning head-on, they said, "Why didn't it run?" This manifestation, lightning tribulation, cannot be run away. This tribulation cloud has already locked onto it. No matter where it goes, the lightning will strike. Even if you turn a corner at the last moment, you will realize that the lightning can turn even more than you can. Little Roar said, "This manifestation, lightning tribulation, was originally formed because of the sacred beast shape-shifting. What saw it was its aura. What if someone went to help it pass the tribulation? For example, if they installed a lightning rod nearby, wouldn't that lead the lightning straight to the ground?" Sima Yue said, You're so stupid. Since this is a manifestation lightning tribulation, it naturally is not an ordinary lightning. It will only strike the shape-shifting beast, not your lightning rod." Little Roar said in disdain, "If someone dares to go and help it, then the lightning tribulation's strength and quantity will double. At that time, it won't be helping, but more of a hindrance. Then in the future, when you shape-shift, I can't help you?" Sima Yue asked again. Little Roar then knew that she was worried about them. His heart felt warm as he said, "If we shape-shift, you can come with us, but others can't. The contract allows this kind of situation." The sacred beast should have been directly beaten down by the last 3 bolts of lightning. For a long time, there was no reaction at all. Just as everyone was guessing that he had been turned into ashes by the lightning tribulation, a terrifying pressure came from the Sophia mountain range. All the spirit beasts prostrated themselves on the ground, bowing towards the Sophia mountain range. Even Little Roar came out from Sima Yue's embrace and lowered his head towards that direction. "Little Roar, why are you bowing to it?" Fatty Chu looked at Little Roar. Could it be that he was also intimidated by that pressure? Little Roar raised his head and returned to Sima Yue's embrace, saying, "This is a form of respect for a spirit beast that has successfully shape-shifted." That pressure slowly dissipated. Following that, a light that signified a promotion came from the mountain range. Damn, this guy actually got promoted after going through the manifestation, lightning tribulation. Little Roar saw the promotion light and could not help but curse. When the promotion light dissipated, the long night had also passed, and the sky was already turning white. This night, everyone was too shocked. The power of nature and the sacred bee's strength still made them feel fear. It was as if the lightning was still echoing in their ears, and the sky above their heads could explode at any time. While everyone's hearts were palpitating, they were also worried. If this beast wave was related to the shape-shifted beast, then this would be a catastrophe for Three Springs City. "Brother Lei, what do we do now?" Sun Lily looked at Wang Lei worriedly. Wang Lei looked at the spirit beast below and said, "No matter what, as the city lord of Three Springs City, I naturally have to stay with Three Springs City. As for the others, the women and children should have already evacuated. If those spirit masters want to leave, then let them leave. The final result will be left to the heavens." Hearing that they could leave, many spirit masters immediately retreated from the city walls. However, before they could fly far, they were forced to the ground by the pressure coming from behind. It's here, the people on the city walls saw a figure quickly approaching from the Sophia mountain range. That figure was the sacred beast. Chapter 175. The sacred beast stood in midair and looked down at the people on the city wall. His gaze paused on Sima Yue for a while before finally landing on Wang Lei. Wang Lei instantly felt an unprecedented pressure pressing down on his body. He hurriedly circulated the spiritual energy in his body to relieve this pressure and said with difficulty, "What business does your excellency have in Three Springs City? You are the city lord of Three Springs City?" The sacred beast opened his mouth. His voice was clear and cold, with a hint of magnetism. "Yes," Wang Lei admitted. "Do you know what crimes you humans have committed?" The sacred beast angrily rebuked. Wang Lei looked at the sacred beast, his eyes flashing with confusion. "I do not know who has angered you to this extent. Please enlighten me." The sacred beast looked at Wang Lei. His eyes darkened, and he increased the pressure. Although Wang Lei was struggling to hold on, it was to no avail. He knelt down with one leg. Large beads of sweat slid down his cheeks and dripped onto the limestone floor. Sun Lili saw that her husband was forced to such a state by the pressure, so she stepped forward and shouldered the pressure with him. She looked at the sacred beast and said, "We really do not know how we offended you, sir. Please tell us, sir. We will immediately take care of it." The sacred beast looked at Sun Lili, extended his hand, and sucked her into his hand. "Lily!" Wang Lei gritted his teeth and stood up when he saw Sun Lili being caught. "Little ant!" Bai Yunxi shouted loudly and leaped towards the sacred beast to attack. "Oomph!" The sacred beast snorted coldly, and Bai Yunxi was shaken to the point that it lost its balance and fell towards the herd of beasts below. "Ziqi, young master!" The people on the city wall were unable to move due to the pressure of the cold snort. They could only watch as Bai Yunxi fell to the ground. If he were to fall into a group of beasts, there would only be one outcome. Not even his bones would be left. Suddenly, a figure jumped down from the city wall and caught Bai Yunxi when he was only a dozen meters away from the ground. The figure grabbed his waist and brought him back to the city wall. Bai Yunxi looked at Sima Yue's perfect side profile and said, "Yue, you saved me again." Sima Yue placed Bai Yunxi on the city wall and said, "Being impulsive is not the way to solve problems." The sacred beast did not think that there would still be someone who could move under his pressure. He turned his gaze back to her. "You can actually ignore this sovereign's pressure?" The sacred beast did not get angry. He was more curious about her. Sima Yue looked at the sacred beast. There was no fear in her eyes. She smiled and said, "Sovereign strength, we have all seen it with our own eyes. There is no need for you to use your pressure to control everyone. I think that in front of you, no one will dare to act rashly." "You have yet to answer this sovereign's question." The sacred beast looked at Sima Yue and said, "I have seen even more terrifying pressure. I should be immune to it." Sima Yue shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know if this answer will work." The sacred beast stared at Sima Yue for a few seconds. He did not know why, but this little human gave him a sense of danger. However, he still retracted his pressure. After all, with him here, the spirit beasts below were also suppressed and could not breathe. Feeling the weight on their bodies disappear, everyone breathed in fresh air again. "Sovereign, we really do not know what has angered you, to the extent that you have mobilized so many people. Even if you have captured Madam, we still do not know. I think that you let the spirit beasts surround Three Springs City, but did not attack. You probably do not want to kill the innocent. Why don't you release Madam and tell us the reason why you are so angry? That way, we will know what to do." Sima Yue saw that Sun Lili's face was already pale. If he used any more strength, her little life would be gone. 10 days ago, you humans stole something very important from the Sophia mountain range. The sacred beast said, at that time, this sovereign was preparing to transform, so he did not guard against it. Hearing his words, Everyone thought in their hearts. As expected, Wanlei looked at the sacred beast and said, I wonder what it is? Is that thing still in Three Springs City? If those people have already taken it away, we have no way of tracking it down. The sacred beast was actually not a bad person. At his level, he did not want to make things difficult for humans. He threw Sun Lily back and said, that thing is still in Three Springs City. I can still smell it. Wanlei stood up to catch Sun Lily. Hearing him say this, he felt relieved and said, Please tell me what it is. I will send people to look for it. It is a feather that this sovereign shed. The sacred beast's tone was cold, making everyone break out in cold sweat for the person who stole the feather. They actually dared to steal the sacred beast's feather. Wasn't that the same as pinching a tiger's? But Wanlei also understood why the sacred beast was so angry. The feather of a bird was very precious. Now that it was stolen, it was a great insult to him. I will send people to look for that person. No need, the sacred beast said. He closed his eyes and felt for a moment. Then he stretched his hand toward a certain place in the city and sucked a person from the ground. It's the domineering mercenary group. The people on the city walls recognized the person's clothes and cried out in shock. That's right. The domineering mercenary group was also carrying out a mission in the mountains. Who would have thought that they would dare to steal the sacred beast's feather? Their guts are too big. That person is in trouble now. Anyway, there aren't many good people in the domineering mercenary group. I'm really looking forward to that person's end. The person who was caught was already scared silly. He never thought that he would randomly pick up a few feathers from a cave and bring about a fatal disaster. Seeing the sacred beast's eyes filled with killing intent, he knew that he was doomed. Your Honor, I didn't know that it was your feather. I didn't mean to offend you on purpose. Your Honor, please spare my life. The sacred beast ignored him and took off his interspatial ring. With a light pinch, the interspatial ring broke into pieces. 10 over feathers emitted a weak blue light as they floated in the air. The remaining things all fell to the ground. Haha, they're actually women's undergarments. Little Roar saw the things that fell and couldn't help but laugh out loud. No matter if it was a human or a beast, they were all very quiet at this moment. Little Roar's laughter was especially prominent at this moment. However, after hearing what he said, everyone really did see a few women's undergarments. Sima Yue saw the feathers emitting a blue light and said, Why do I feel that these feathers are a little familiar? I think so too. Bei Gong Tang said, Oh no, the sacred beast found his own feather and threw that person down. The spirit beast below would naturally take good care of him. He glanced at his own feather and suddenly became furious. The pressure he emitted caused everyone on the city walls to fall to the ground. Why is there one missing? Chapter 176. I can't breathe. Some of the weaker people were directly knocked unconscious by the sacred beast's pressure. Only the Spirit King and above were left on the city wall. Why is there one missing? Not only were the people below complaining incessantly in their hearts, even the sacred beast did not understand. He had clearly only sensed the feather in this person's spatial ring and did not sense it anywhere else. Then where did that feather go? Seeing this, many people felt that they would not be able to escape death today. Isn't this the feather I used to make fire the other day? Little Roar's words gave Sima Yue the urge to strangle him. That pressure had no effect on Little Roar at all. His body moved a little and a burnt black stick appeared in his hand. As soon as the stick appeared, it glowed with a faint blue light. Just like the feather, the black charcoal on the stick slowly dissipated, leaving behind only the feather on the stick. Wei Ziqi and the others wanted to roll their eyes and faint. Why did they say that the sacred beast's feather was somewhat familiar? Wasn't this the feather that Little Roar had taken out to make fire 10 days ago? Little Roar took the feather and flew towards the sacred beast. Arriving in front of him, he passed the feather to him and said, Handsome, I'll return this feather to you. Cough, cough. I didn't know it was yours before, so I used it to help my Yu light the fire. Since you're so handsome, I won't care about this missing hair. When the people below heard Little Roar's words, they were all thunderstruck. That was the feather of a sacred beast, and you actually used it as a poker. What kind of thinking was that? Seeing the sacred beast's face getting darker and darker, it actually dared to tease him. It really didn't want to live anymore. Seema, you covered her eyes with her hands. It was too embarrassing. Little Roar saw that the sacred beast did not take it, and only coldly looked at him. He extended his claws to rub the fur on his forehead and said, I know that I'm also very good looking. You don't have to look at me like that. I'll get shy. Even though the current situation was not right, Ouyang Fei and the others could not help but laugh. This fellow, previously, he had taken liberties with Thousand Resonance's wife. Now, he was taking liberties with a sacred beast. He really ate both men and women. The sacred beast looked at the feathers that had changed beyond recognition, and then looked at the narcissistic Little Roar. The corners of his mouth curled up, using my feathers as a poker. Very good, very good. Cough, cough. Didn't I say this already? I didn't know that it was your feather. As the saying goes, the ignorant are not guilty. Little Roar's voice became softer and softer as he spoke. Since you burn my feathers, then I will burn you. The sacred beast's voice was very light, but it made the people below feel the cold, killing intent. Seeing that he did not seem to be lying, Little Roar threw away the feather in his hand and ran towards Sima Yue. You help. Sima Yue resisted the urge to roll her eyes. The other party was a sacred beast. She couldn't even defeat one of his fingers. What was the use of shouting for help? A ball of flame appeared in the sacred beast's hand. With a light flick, the flame flew towards Little Roar. Little Roar felt the heat behind him approaching. Turning his head to look, he saw a ball of flame flying towards him. He was so scared that he hurriedly turned around, changing his original direction. He did not expect that the flame seemed to have recognized Little Roar as it turned and continued to chase after him. Mommy, this fellow knows how to turn. Little Roar was so scared that he hurriedly turned around, avoiding the flame. It was obviously a very dangerous moment, but the people below felt that it was a little dramatic, especially when Little Roar was running and crying out. Coupled with his cute body, it really made people laugh. Little Roar saw that he could not avoid the flame and cried in the air, You boss, save me. If you don't do anything, I will become barbecued meat. Sima Yue was helpless. Although this fellow always gave her trouble, he was still her spirit beast. She could bully her own people, but others could not. Seeing that Sima Yue wanted to go up, Bai Yunqi pulled her back and said, That's a sacred beast. Sima Yue gently patted Bai Yunqi's hand away and said, Little Roar is my family. After saying that, she stood up and flew towards Little Roar. She condensed spiritual energy in her hand and quickly hit the ball of flame. Little Roar saw Sima Yue and threw himself into her embrace, saying, You, if you don't help me, I will be burned to death. Woo woo woo. Sima Yue originally wanted Little Roar to learn a lesson and not be so reckless every time. But when she saw that the fur on his butt was burnt, she felt a little heartache. If it was not for his own weak strength, Little Roar would not have become a spirit beast that did not have any battle power. No matter what, he was still an ancient spirit beast. Dealing with a sacred beast was not a problem. Everyone was very surprised that she faced the sacred beast's flame head-on. No one thought that she would be able to disperse the flame. But the sacred beast's flame was indeed dispersed by her flame. When the sacred beast saw that Sima Yue had actually dispersed his flame, the anger in his heart grew. He quickly threw out a few more balls of flame. Pung, pung, pung. Sima Yue directly used the flame to cover her hand. Punch after punch, she dispersed the sacred beast's flame. SS-. Since when did Yue's flame become so terrifying? I can feel an even more terrifying temperature in her flame. She can actually disperse the sacred beast's flame. What kind of background does this guy have? Wei Ziqi and the other three looked at each other. They did not know that Sima Yue's flame was actually so terrifying. This is not the flame that she usually uses. Beigong Tang said confidently. Usually, The flame that she used was either condensed from her own spiritual energy or Yaguang's flame. But the flame that she used today was definitely not the one that she usually used. You good job, Little Roar said excitedly from Sima Yoyue's shoulder. Sima Yue turned around and glared at him. He immediately kept quiet. Her eyes told him that if he did not keep quiet, she would throw him out. The sacred beast looked at Sima Yue. The flame in her hand gave him a sense of oppression. It even suppressed the flame in his body. What flame is this? Sima Yue moved her fingers. The moment she saw his flame, she knew that the flames that she used in the past were useless. So she added a bit of Crimson Flame's flame in the beginning. It was just a bit, but it was able to disperse the sacred beast's flame. This made her a little surprised. Little Roar really did not know that this was your feather. I have already apologized to you. Please be magnanimous and let it go. Let it go. Anyone who offends me must die. As its owner, you must die too. You may not be afraid of my pressure, but you can also suppress my flame. But I do not only know these. After he finished speaking, he waved his hands in the air twice. A hurricane slowly formed behind him. Chapter 177. Sima Yue saw the hurricane behind the sacred beast and immediately threw Little Roar into the spirit pagoda. She felt that the hurricane was very dangerous. If she was swept into it, she would definitely be smashed to pieces. She might even be torn to pieces by the hurricane. Furthermore, she discovered that this sacred beast was not as bloodthirsty as other spirit beasts. Although the hurricane in the sky made it difficult for the air to move, it was only limited to the high altitude. The people and beasts on the ground were not affected. Looks like we can only run. Sima Yue glanced at Wei Ziqi and the rest, and they immediately understood what she meant. This Sophia mountain range was filled with spirit beasts, so they would definitely listen to him. Thus, she flew in the opposite direction. Try to run? Sacred Beast did not expect that Sima Yue would actually run away like that. However, he was not worried. After giving the order to the spirit beast below, he stood up and chased after her. Rather than killing her, he was more interested in finding out what kind of flame she had that even he was afraid of. Wei Ziqi and the other three saw them leave and chased after them. Little Ant, I'll go take a look too. Bai Yunqi shouted at Sun Lili before flying off with Wei Ziqi and the others. Hey you! Before Sun Lili could finish her sentence, Bai Yunqi had already flown away from them. Thinking about how there were still so many spirit beasts under the city walls, they couldn't leave and could only watch as they disappeared. These people are really fast. Some spirit masters exclaimed when they realized that the speed at which they disappeared was much faster than normal people. Look, the spirit beasts are retreating. Following this scream, the soul masters on the city wall no longer paid attention to Sima Yue and the rest. They all turned to look at the spiritual beast. It's true. The spirit beasts at the foot of the mountain have all returned. These spirit beasts are going back just like that. After such a big commotion, it's over just like that? Many spirit masters were stunned by the scene in front of them. Everyone thought that there would be a fierce battle, but they didn't expect that it would be over without even moving a finger. It was as though someone had announced that there was going to be a show, but when they went over, all they heard was a person singing a song. Then it was over. When Sun Lili and Wang Lei saw the spirit beasts retreat, they let out a long sigh of relief in their hearts. If they really fought, Three Spring City would definitely not be able to survive this time. When the spirit beasts first arrived, it took them 1 or 2 days to arrive. Now, they had all retreated in less than half a day. This speed made the people on the city wall exclaim in admiration. When Wang Lei saw that the last batch of spirit beasts had returned to the Sophia mountain range, he cupped his hands towards the spirit masters on the city wall and said, "Thank you all for coming to help this time. Although we didn't fight in the end, the promised rewards will still be honored." Hearing Wang Lei's words, everyone became happy. They originally thought that without fighting, there would be no reward. All of you, guard the city gates well. Make sure that the beast horde is really over. Also, Close the city gates for 3 days and don't let anyone out for the time being. Wang Lei instructed the soldiers and then said to the spirit master, "Let's go down." "City Lord, please, the beast tide has just retreated. Please stay in Three Spring City for a few more days." "No problem." "Thank you, everyone." After the spirit beast retreated, Three Springs City, which had been tense for 3 to 4 days, regained its usual calm. Other than not being able to leave the city and go to the Sophia mountain range, everything else was the same as before. As for Sima Yue, she flew out of Three Springs City and flew forward based on her intuition. The sacred beast chased after her at a leisurely pace. Behind them, Wei Ziqi and the other four were chasing with all their might. Yue's speed is so fast, there's no trace of her at all. Bai Yunqi sat on the back of a divine vulture and watched as the distance between Sima, Yue, and them increased. Not long after leaving Three Spring City, Wei Ziqi called out a divine vulture and got everyone to sit on its back to chase after Sima, Yue, and the others. "I never thought that you, Ziqi, would actually have a divine bird like the divine vulture." Bai Yunqi sighed and went up with everyone. Seeing Sima, Yue, and the others disappear, Wei Ziqi and the others did not panic. Although the sacred beast's strength was about the same as a divine spirit master, with her trump card, even if she could not win, she could hide in her spirit pagoda in a secluded place. Sima Yue kept flying forward and did not know how long she had been flying. The hurricane behind her was still there, and the sacred beast sat on the hurricane, allowing it to slowly chase after her. Sometimes slowly teasing the prey was more fun than directly killing it. "Damn it, it's still chasing after us." Sima Yue turned around to look at the hurricane, and her heart sank. Seeing that there was no one around, she knew that her spirit energy would be depleted sooner or later. She stopped and turned around to look at the sacred beast slowly approaching her. Her hands quickly formed a seal, and a flame blade appeared in front of her. "Damn it, I'm not running anymore." Sima Yue grabbed the flame blade and fused a strand of Qi Yan's flame into it. She then raised the blade and slashed at the sacred beast. The sacred beast naturally felt the temperature of Qi Yan's flame and moved his body upwards. The hurricane flew towards Sima Yue while he remained in his original position. Puqi, the flame blade, cut the hurricane in half, but the hurricane immediately merged back together. She used the flame blade to block it, but she was sucked in along with her blade. Once she entered the hurricane, Sima Yue felt that her entire body was being torn apart, as if her 4 limbs were about to be ripped off. She could not breathe, and her entire body was in pain. This was the first time she felt that death was so close to her. She wanted to enter the spirit pagoda, but she suddenly realized that there was no response from the spirit pagoda, as if the door to enter was blocked. "Damn it," she cursed in her heart. She tried her best to condense her spirit energy to cover herself up, using this to resist the huge tearing force. The sacred beast did not think that Sima Yue would be able to withstand the hurricane for such a long time. The 5 fingers of his right hand squeezed together, and the hurricane slowly shrank along with his movements. "Yue." When Wei Ziqi and the rest rushed over, they saw this scene. One by one, they flew up from the back of the spirit vulture and attacked the sacred beast. The sacred beast waved his hand, and a gust of wind blew the 5 of them away, landing on the ground below. "I've already let you off, but you actually came to court death. Wait till I've taken care of her. Then I'll take care of you." The sacred beast glanced at the few of them, and his aura caused them to be pinned to the ground, unable to move. The hurricane shrank smaller and smaller, and Sima Yue felt that her entire body was being oppressed. The difference in strength between a spirit overlord and a sacred beast was not just a little bit. Even if she was gifted, it was difficult for her to cross this huge gap. "If I continue squeezing, my stomach will explode. When that happens, my intestines will flow out. Damn it, I don't want to die in such an ugly way." Just as she was howling in her heart, she suddenly felt that something had left her brain. Following that, her body became light, and the hurricane that was wrapping around her suddenly broke apart. She fell heavily onto the ground. When the crowd saw Sima Yue come out from the hurricane, They heaved a sigh of relief. When they saw the faint figure in front of her, they were all shocked. Master Feng. Chapter 178. Sima Yue raised her head and saw a faint shadow standing in front of her. Master, that shadow smiled faintly at Sima Yu, then turned into specks of light and disappeared into the air. That's a soul imprint. Beigong Tang said blankly. What is a soul imprint? Fatty Chu asked. It's when a divine-ranked expert separates a strand of their soul and places it on another person's body. When that person's life is threatened, that soul imprint will automatically retaliate. Beigong Tang said that Sima Yue was able to escape from the hurricane because Master Feng's spirit imprint saved her. Wei Ziqi guessed. Sima Yue felt that the shadow of Feng Zhixing before he left had faded a lot. It was probably because she had just used up her energy. Thinking of Feng Zhixing's love and care for her, Sima Yue felt a warm current in her heart. The sacred beast looked at Sima Yue in astonishment. He did not think that there would be a spirit imprint left behind by a divine rancor in her body. He then laughed and said, even if you have a spirit imprint that saved your life, the duration of the spirit imprint cannot be too short. Let's see what other tricks you have this time. With that, he flipped his right hand. Following his movement, Sima Yue felt as if a mountain had suddenly appeared on her body, pressing down on her until her bones cracked. How does it feel to have a mountain pressing down on you? The sacred beast looked at her with satisfaction and asked with a smile, Master, let us out. Thousand Resonance said to Little Rock and the others through the contract. The opponent is a sacred beast. You are all spirit beasts. If you come out, his pressure will make you unable to retaliate. There's no need for you to come out. As they could not communicate with the spirit pagoda, the people inside could not see Sima Yue's situation. However, they could feel that she was severely injured and her life was in danger. Woo, it's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have provoked the sacred beast, and you wouldn't have been injured. Little Roar cried loudly in the spirit pagoda. I just need to increase my strength a little more and you'll die. Sacred beast looked at Sima Yue lying on the ground. All the bones in her body were broken and her clothes were soaked in sweat. Her face was even paler than a piece of paper, but she did not make a sound. Taking a closer look, it turned out that she had been biting her lips all this time. Her lips were already bleeding and blood was flowing down. He did not know why, but when he saw Sima Yue being so stubborn, he suddenly felt uncomfortable. He lost the mood to play with her and said, let's end this. He tried to increase his weight, but realized that there was a force on Sima Yue's body that was resisting him. He increased his strength, but was rebounded, causing him to retreat dozens of meters. Bang! The formless mountain was lifted, and a pressure that was even more terrifying than a sacred beast came from Sima Yue. The sacred beast had just stabilized himself when he felt the pressure, and he lost control of his body, reverting to his original form and falling to the ground. He couldn't even maintain his human form. What kind of suppression was this? What bird is this? The sacred beast was suppressed, and the suppression he had on Wei Ziqi and the others also disappeared. The five of them regained their freedom. Beigong Tang hurriedly got up from the ground and ran to Sima Yue's side. Seeing her sprawled on the ground, her heart ached so much that her eyes turned red. Chirp, chirp, dash. The sacred beast was suppressed, and he cried out to Sima Yue. He flapped his wings nonstop, wanted to fight back and stand up. What a good Chongming bird. You even dare to touch my master. A voice came from Sima Yue's body. Who are you? The sacred beast flapped his wings twice and stared fiercely at Sima Yue. A golden light flashed, and an ugly egg came out from Sima Yue's body. It flew directly towards the sacred beast. Bang dash. The Chongming bird's huge body was sent flying by the egg. Fatty Chu and the others stared dumbfoundedly at the unforeseen event. They originally thought that the egg would break, but they never thought that it would end up like this. When the Chongming bird saw Crimson Flame's egg, it was completely stunned. Even though it was hit, its heart did not have the slightest bit of resistance. It was completely different from before. I never thought that this sacred beast's body would actually be that of a Chongming bird. No wonder he didn't kill the innocent in Three Spring City. Wei Ziqi said. According to the ancient records, the Chongming bird looked like a chicken, cried like a phoenix, and was righteous. It would help humans chase away wolves, tigers, and leopards. It was a spirit beast that was filled with righteousness. If they did not provoke it this time, and it was some other bird, Three Spring City would not have been able to escape this calamity. What is this egg? Bai Yunqi was more curious about Crimson Flame's identity, but no matter how she looked at it, it was just an ugly egg, and she could not tell its identity. Ouyang Fei looked at Wei Ziqi. He was a beast tamer master, and his knowledge of spirit beasts was broader than theirs. Wei Ziqi shook his head. He also could not tell what type of spirit beast this egg belonged to. Crimson Flame hit the Chongming bird a few more times. Every time, they could hear the sound of it being hit, but the Chongming bird did not resist at all. After hitting it enough, Crimson Flame returned to Sima Yoyue's side. Looking at her appearance, it seemed to be very dissatisfied. Move aside, Crimson Flame said to Bei Gongtang. Bei Gongtang did not know what Crimson Flame wanted to do, but since it was Sima Yoyue's spirit beast, it would definitely not harm her. Thus, she stood up and stood to the side. Crimson Flame suddenly pounced towards Sima Yue. When it collided with her, it disappeared without a trace. Following that, her body suddenly burst into flames, completely enveloping her. When the Chongming bird saw the flames, its body trembled even more violently. Bei Gongtang and the others could not stand the temperature and ran far away. Only then did they pay attention to her situation. The temperature of this flame is really high. Fatty Chu was sweating profusely from the heat and took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. This should be the flame that suppresses the sacred beast's flame. Ouyang Fei said, the level of this flame is definitely very high. If not, it would not be able to cause the sacred beast to be afraid. Wei Ziqi said as he looked at the Chongming bird's trembling body. I say, do you know what this is? Don't ignore my question. Bai Yunqi's previous question was not answered, so she asked again. The other four shook their heads, saying, we didn't know that Yue had a contract beast like this. This is also the first time we've seen it. Why is that flame enveloping Yue? All the bones in her body are broken. We have to treat her in time. Fatty Chu anxiously looked at the person who was enveloped in flames. I think it should be treating Yue's injuries. Bei Gongtang guessed. I think so too. Bai Yunqi said, since we can't go near that flame now, we can only wait here. Just now, everyone was injured, so they all sat down to meditate and recover. Who would have thought that they would have to wait for 3 days? After 3 days, that flame began to slowly fade, faintly showing signs of extinguishing. Chapter 179. For 3 whole days, Sima Yue was engulfed in flames. They thought that she was unconscious, but in fact, she was awake the whole time. She could feel the flames burning every part of her bones. Last time, in the Pu Luo mountain ranges cave, Qi Yin had used its flames to transform her meridians. This time, it was also using its flames to transform her bones. Her calcined bones were as hard as refined spiritual qi. If she were to encounter the same situation as 3 days ago, her bones would not be crushed so easily. 3 days later, Crimson Flame finished transforming her and slowly retracted as flames. Put on your clothes first, Crimson Flame said in the contract space. Sima Yue was fully recovered now. She looked at her naked body and took out a set of clothes from her space ring to wear. Previously, the flames were out of her control, so they had burned her clothes. Now, they were ignoring the things in her hands. After putting on her clothes, Sima Yue extinguished all the flames on her body. Yue. When Bei Gongtang and the others saw that the flames on Sima Yue's body had disappeared, they quickly ran over. Sima Yue thought about how they were injured by the sacred beast and asked, how are you guys? We're all done. What about you? Sima Yue moved her body and smiled. Everything is fine now. Wow. Yua, what kind of flame is that? It's so magical. What kind of spirit beast is your Dan? Bayunchi looked at Sima Yue in surprise. Sima Yue shook her head and said helplessly, I don't know what kind of spirit beast it is. It never told me. Hearing her words, everyone was speechless. He didn't even know what kind of spirit beast he had. She was probably the only one who would be like this. At this moment, Qi Yin came out of Sima Yue's body and flew to the front of the Chongming bird that was lying on the ground. Do you know your crime? Qi Yin's voice was innately dignified. I know my mistake. The Chongming bird lowered its head to the ground and said in a low voice, Little roar offended you, so you want its life? Since you hurt my master, you can end it yourself. Crimson Flame said faintly. Wei Ziqi and the rest opened their mouths wide in shock. Was this the rhythm of killing it? The Chongming bird's eyes flashed with unwillingness, but it did not dare to disobey its master's orders. They didn't know his identity, but it did. Chirp, chirp. It raised its head and screamed loudly, about to end its life. Wait a minute, Sima Yue shouted. She dashed in front of the Chongming bird and stopped it from moving. What is it? Crimson Flame asked. The Chongming bird isn't some ferocious beast, and it didn't kill humans. It took so much effort to become a sacred beast, it would be a pity if it died just like that. Sima Yue said, but it hurt you. Crimson Flame said angrily, if I didn't feel the danger and woke up from my deep sleep, you would have lost your life. Isn't that because Little Roar angered it? It wasn't its fault in the beginning. Sima Yue defended the Chongming bird. Then what do you plan to do? If Crimson Flame was a human, everyone would have noticed that his face was very ugly. Let it leave, Sima Yue said. It wasn't that she wanted to bite the hand that fed her, but today's matter wasn't the Chongming bird's fault. Furthermore, when she thought about how it didn't kill any innocent people in Three Springs City, she felt that this kind of spirit beast was too rare. Especially when she saw it go through the lightning tribulation that night, she still respected it. Anyone who dared to challenge the rules of the world deserved respect. The Chongming bird didn't think that Sima Yue would speak up for it. It knew that if she was willing to let it go, then its life would be saved today. Crimson Flame was silent for a while, saying, It's not impossible to let it go. You're so weak right now. You really need someone to protect you. Chongming bird, are you willing to recognize her as your master? I'll let a sacred beast recognize her as its master. The spirit beasts in the spirit pagoda were all boiling. They already had Crimson Flame above them. Now that another sacred beast came, wouldn't their position be pushed back? You, this guy wanted to kill you just now. You can't accept it. Little Roar wailed. But if there's a sacred beast, Master's strength will increase by quite a bit. Thousand Resonance was more rational and looked at the situation more comprehensively. Anyway, I'm a tail. Yaguang, who had just become a sacred beast, dug on the ground, but his words were still somewhat unwilling. It could be considered to be the fastest to become a sacred beast, borrowing Sima Yue's advancement and contracting with other sacred beasts. It quickly became a sacred beast. Sima Yue looked at the Chongming bird in silence, saying, You don't have to follow me. My current spiritual energy is not enough to contract with other sacred beasts, and you're a sacred beast. I can't tame or contract with you. Then let it recognize you as its master. Crimson Flame said. Sima Yue shook her head, saying, Taking the initiative to recognize you as its master is too much of a waste. If you use my method to contract, it'll be better for both human and beast, and it'll be much easier to advance in the future. You're really? Crimson Flame was speechless at Sima Yue's thoughts. Sima Yue stepped forward and patted the Chongming bird's beak, taking out a bottle of pills, saying, These are pills that I refined, Little Roar, and the rest eat these when they're injured. You're a sacred beast, I don't know if it'll be effective, so you should eat a few more. After speaking, she poured out the entire bottle of pills and threw them into its mouth. The faint fragrance of the pills melted in its mouth, and the Chongming bird stared blankly at Sima Yue. Sima Yue smiled, saying, You can go. The Chongming bird turned its gaze towards Crimson Flame. Without his permission, it did not dare to leave. Crimson Flame was silent for a while, saying, "Follow her when she's in the Yilin continent. Once she leaves this continent, if she doesn't contract you, you'll be free. If she's injured in the Yilin continent, you'll become a roasted bird." After speaking, it turned into a ray of golden light and entered between Sima Yue's eyebrows, returning to the contract space. Seeing Crimson Flame being so greedy, Sima Yue touched her nose. "If you're not willing, you don't have to care about Crimson Flame." The Chongming bird looked at Sima Yue, and after a while, it said, "I'm willing to follow you temporarily." When it said that it would follow her temporarily, it did not mean that it would definitely recognize her as its master. If she did not catch its eye in the end, it would still not choose her. Without Crimson Flame suppression, the Chongming bird turned back into its human form. All right, just like that, Sima Yue had another sacred beast by her side. This change made the few people watching from behind envious and jealous. "All right, what's your name?" Sima Yue asked. She was used to calling the people around her. "Name." The Chongming bird was stunned. It had been a long time since someone called it by its name. "You could just call me Chongming." Chapter 180. Seeing that Sima Yue had settled everything, Wei Ziqi and the rest walked over and said, "What do we do now?" Sima Yue looked at Bai Yunqi and said, "Should we go directly to Peace City?" "Well, because of the Beast Horde, you haven't gotten your identity documents yet. That's why we have to go back and get our IDs," Bai Yunqi said. Right, they had all forgotten about it. "Then let's go back to Three Spring City first and get our identification before going to Peace City," Sima Yue said. The group of people boarded the Divine Vulture and flew towards Three Spring City. Chongming also retracted his aura and sat on the Divine Vulture with him. When they returned to Sanshui City, the city gate was still closed. They were surprised to see Chongming, Bai Yunqi, and Sima Yue still alive. She didn't die. Could it be that something happened? This sacred beast is here again. Could it be another beast tied? I don't think so. Look, he's with young master and the others. I hope nothing else will happen. Because of Chongming, the Divine Vulture flew directly above the city lord's mansion. Wang Lei and Sun Lily had long sensed the arrival of important figures, so they were shocked to see them in the air. "Aunt, Uncle, we're back." Arriving at the airspace above the city lord's mansion, everyone flew into the air. Wei Ziqi kept the Divine Vulture. Seeing Sima Yue and Chongming together, Wang Lei and Sun Lili were confused, but they didn't say anything. They smiled and said, "Since you're all here, let's talk downstairs. This way, please." Chongming looked at Sima Yue. He was now her bodyguard. He had to follow her and listen to her for the next few years. "Let's go." Sima Yue flew down first. Seeing this scene, Wang Lei and Sun Lili's eyes were even more shocked. Previously, the sacred beast wanted to kill her, but now he was treating her as the master. What exactly happened in between? They looked at Bai Yunqi, and he shook his head. He had promised not to tell anyone about this. When they arrived at the mayor's mansion, Wang Lei brought Sima Yue and the rest to the living room. Because Chongming was there, Wang Lei and the rest did not dare to sit on the main seat. Sima Yue and Chongming sat at the top of the table on the left. Wang Lei and his wife could only sit opposite them. As for Wei Ziqi and the rest, they were seated at the back. "Governor, madam, we're here to ask if our identity documents are ready?" Sima Yue asked directly. "It's done." Sun Lily smiled and said, "I finished it a few days ago, but because of the beast tide, I didn't give it to you. Later, you left Three Spring City, so it's been with me all this time." As she spoke, several signs appeared in her hand. A maidservant came forward and took the tokens from her hands, distributing them to Sima, Yue, and the others. These tokens are made from crystals. You can see your information if you channel your spiritual energy into it. Bai Yunqi explained to everyone. Sima Yue tried to channel her spiritual energy into it, and a white light flashed. Following that, a few words appeared in the air. On it was written, "Sima Yue, born in Three Spring City, subordinate to the mayor's mansion." Wei Ziqi and the rest had the same content. When they withdrew their spiritual energy, the words disappeared. With this, they could be considered as people with status. Keeping the identity documents, Wei Ziqi cupped his hands towards Wang Lei and said, "Many thanks to the mayor and madam for doing this for us. We haven't thanked you for what you've done for Three Springs City." Sun Lily said, "Besides, you were Yin Qi's friends and saved his life. Right? What are you planning to do next?" "We'll go to Peace City first and use the teleportation array to go to the Central Wu Kingdom," Sima Yue said. "We want to take a look at the situation there." Sun Lily nodded and said, "That's good too. We'll go and understand the situation first, in case something unexpected happens. Then when you plan to leave?" "As soon as possible," Sima Yue said. "If possible, we plan to leave immediately." "So soon? I have something on my mind, and I want to finish it as soon as possible," Sima Yue said. "That's good too. Then we won't keep you." Sun Lily looked at Chongming and asked, "Will your honor come along?" "This honor is now her bodyguard and will follow her for the next few years," Chongming replied. Sima Yue stood up and said, "Once again, I thank the mayor and madam for helping us with our identity documents. Goodbye." "Goodbye." Wei Ziqi and the rest also stood up and said. Bai Yunqi didn't think that Sima Yue would leave so quickly. She stood up and said, "Little aunt, uncle, they don't understand the situation here. I'll lead the way for them. Let's go back to Peace City together." Sun Lily glared at Bai Yunqi and said, "You rascal! Every time you come here, you don't stay for more than a few days. This time, it's only been a few days and you're leaving again. I have something to do. Next time, I'll accompany my beautiful little aunt to play for a few days. How about that?" Bai Yunqi giggled and said, "That's what you said the last time." Sun Lily stepped forward and pinched his face, saying, "You heartless person. My Three Springs City can't keep you here. If you want to go, then go. Remember, the next time you come here and go to Sophia without telling me, I'll beat your butt up. Got it? Got it." Bai Yunqi rescued his face from Sun Lily's evil clutches and left with Sima Yue and the rest. Because the Sand Gull mercenary group had already returned to Peace City to submit their mission, only the 6 of them and Chongming returned. When they arrived at the Spirit Master Guild, the other party did not ask them to pay any fees, nor did they ask for any proof of identity. They directly activated the teleportation array for them. Thinking about the relationship between Bai Yunqi and the City Lord's palace, this was not strange. Seeing the familiar light, Sima Yue sighed and said, "Let's go. We'll go to the next city." The group of people stood on it, and the light became even brighter. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from the array. Seeing them leave, the people from the Spirit Master Guild heaved a sigh of relief. They actually came into close contact with a sacred beast, and the other party did not go crazy and kill them. These few short minutes would be the memories of their lives. Sun Lily and Wang Lei stood in the courtyard of the Spirit Master Guild. Seeing them leave, Sun Lily sighed and said, "I originally thought that Yue, that child, would be doomed. I never thought that she would actually subdue the other party. I knew it. This child is not an ordinary person. But I'm really curious, how did she do it?" Since Yunqi did not say, then they must have asked him to keep it a secret. Even if she didn't do it herself, it must have been done by the people around her. No matter what, we can't underestimate her. Wang Lei sighed. "I really hope that she can successfully save her grandfather." "She will. I already thought that she would. Now that she has a sacred beast to help her, there should be no problem." Chapter 181. Peace City, West Moon Kingdom's largest city aside from the imperial capital. It was several 100,000 kilometers away from Three Springs City. Inside Peace City, there were rows upon rows of buildings and streets running from north to south. The streets were bustling with people coming and going, bustling with activity. The Cleric Guild was located on the busiest street in the center of the city. Those who were able to have a place on this street were all the top-ranked powers in the West Moon Kingdom. Of course, there were naturally no lack of the few large unions. When Sima Yue and the rest came out of the Spirit Master Guild, it was noon. The streets were filled with people, and it was even more lively than Three Spring City. There are so many people in this city. Fatty Chu saw the crowded streets, especially the many beauties on the streets, and his saliva almost dripped down. You're already drooling. Wei Ziqi patted his head, laughing as he teased him. Fatty Chu subconsciously raised his hand to wipe his mouth, only to discover that there wasn't any saliva. Only then did he know that Wei Ziqi was laughing at him. Good, you actually dared to tease me. Fatty Chu punched Wei Ziqi's shoulder. Bai Yunqi looked at Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi chasing each other and shouted at them. You two can continue messing around. I'll bring them back first. If you can't find it, don't blame us. The two people who were chasing immediately stopped and returned to their side. Yin Shi, is the Sangol mercenary group far from here? Sima Yue asked. It's not far. It's just a few streets away. Bai Yunqi said, other than the Spiritual Master Guild, the Mercenary Guild, the Beast Tamer Guild, the Alchemist Guild, and the Weapon Refiner Guild, the other shops on this street are all owned by various forces. They sell pills, spirit beasts, spirit weapons, and other miscellaneous items. And the houses they live in are not on this street. No wonder the street is so bustling. Fatty Chu nodded. There are tens of thousands of customers here every day, and that's just on this street, Bai Yunqi said. It's so prosperous. Sima Yue said. Because it wasn't far, they didn't take the beast carriage, but chose to walk instead. Every shop was bustling with activity, and there were many customers inside. When they passed by a house, Sima Yue was attracted by the tightly shut door. Ugly? What a weird name. Seeing that Sima Yue had stopped, the others stopped as well. Where's this place? Why are there so few people? Wei Ziqi asked. This is an auction house. It's only open in the afternoon and at night, so it's relatively quiet right now, Bai Yunqi said. Only in the afternoon and evening? This auction house is rather special. Fatty Chu said. This is the largest auction house in the Yilin continent. There are many branches in the 4 great empires. Although it only operates in the afternoon and evening, it earns more money than other places, Bai Yunqi said. So awesome. Of course, there are many things here that are not available outside. So many people will come here. Usually, we do business here. Every month, we hold an auction in the first half of the month. If there's a particularly important item to be auctioned, we'll hold an additional auction. I've never participated in an auction before. When can we go and experience it? Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue and the rest and asked. Sure, it's good to go and broaden your horizons. Wei Ziqi said. There should be an auction in the next few days. If you want to participate, you can wait a few days before leaving. Bai Yunqi calculated the time in her heart and said. Sima Yue looked at Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang and realized that they were interested as well. So she said, then we'll stay here for a few days. We'll leave after the auction ends. Okay. The few of them walked for more than half an hour before they finished walking on this street. Nobody thought that this street would be so long. It was almost as long as a small city in Dongxin Kingdom. They walked to the end of the street and turned a corner. They realized that this street was much less crowded than the previous one. How do you walk? Don't you have eyes? Sima Yue and the rest had just entered this street when they heard a curse. I'm sorry. A child's voice kept apologizing. His voice was filled with fear. Pia dash, the sound of a whip hitting a body was accompanied by the sound of a child crying. Which family's child doesn't know how to walk? He actually dares to bump into me. Are you looking for death? Woo, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Oh, you didn't do it on purpose? Do you think it's okay if you didn't do it on purpose? You've already hurt me. You have to accept the punishment. Pia dash, the sound of the whip hitting the child's body was heard. The street was filled with people, but nobody dared to step forward to stop it. This child, how did he bump into that witch? This child is still so young. I'm afraid he's done for. Who asked him to not walk properly? Of all the people he could bump into, he just had to bump into her. The heavens are pitiful. Sima Yue and the rest stood at the back of the crowd. When they heard the sound of the whip and crying, as well as the whispers of the crowd, they subconsciously frowned. Despicable. Bai Yunqi heard the commotion and squeezed through the crowd. Sima Yue and the rest followed in. They saw a gorgeously dressed woman in her 20s holding a whip and continuously hitting a child who was only a few years old. Stop! Bai Yunqi saw that the child was about to faint from the whip and shouted loudly. You witch, you're bullying the commoners on the streets again. How can you do this to such a young child? Qin Wan, who was happily hitting the child, heard someone shout at her. Her hand stopped moving and looked over. I was wondering who it was. It's actually you, you idiot. Qin Wan saw Bai Yunqi and said, You didn't die in Sophia Mountain Range. Why did you run back to care about me hitting people? I'm not in the mood to fight with you today. Get lost. After she finished speaking, she raised the whip again and was about to hit the child. Before Bai Yunqi could move, a figure quickly ran over from behind and grabbed Qin Wan's hand. Bei Gong Tang grabbed Qin Wan's hand tightly, preventing the whip in her hand from falling. Where did this slut come from? You actually dare to obstruct me. Qin Wan saw that her hand was grabbed by Bei Gong Tang and shouted angrily. Let this child go. Bei Gong Tang said coldly. What a joke. Do you know who I am? You actually dare to order me around? You slut who doesn't know death. Men, capture her. She's so beautiful. She must be a seductive vixen. Destroy her face for me. Qin Wan saw Bei Gong Tang's appearance clearly and saw that she actually dared to obstruct her. Her heart burned with anger as she shouted. 10 people squeezed from behind the crowd and surrounded Bei Gong Tang. Which you dare? Bai Yunqi shouted. Chapter 182. Looking at their clothes, Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. Are they from the domineering mercenary group? Capture this bitch for me. Qin Wan roared. Yes, miss. The members of the domineering army replied in unison and stretched out their hands to grab Bei Gong Tang. F***CK your grandpa. Which, do you think I'm a dead man? Bai Yunqi roared loudly and rushed towards the domineering people to beat them up. That's right. It hurts. Fatty Chu and the rest immediately started fighting, beating up the people from domineering army until they were all lying on the ground. How dare you touch our North Palace? I don't care if you're arrogant or not. Grandpa will still beat you up. Fatty Chu roared as he fought. Sima Yue, Ouyang Fei, and Wei Ziqi were much quieter, but the strength of their attacks did not decrease. Qin Wan saw that her own people had been beaten down by Sima Yue and the others in just a few moves and scolded them for being useless. She stretched out her hand and struck towards Bei Gong Tang's chest. Bei Gong Tang tilted her body to the side, avoiding that slap. The fingers of her right hand pressed down on Qin Wan's wrist, causing her to let go of the whip in her hand in pain. It hurts. Qin Wan covered her hand and took 2 steps back. She saw that her wrist had turned red. Bei Gong Tang gave a thought, and a flame started to burn the whip, turning it into ashes. My whip. Qin Wan never thought that Bei Gong Tang's flames would actually be able to burn her whip. Her heart ached as she looked at the ashes on the ground. Bei Gong Tang did not care about her screams. She came to the child's side and squatted down, picking him up. Immortal sister, are you here to save me? The child's consciousness was already a little blurry. When he saw Bei Gong Tang, he smiled and asked, Don't be afraid. No one will dare to hit you. Bei Gong Tang hugged the little boy and said gently, Elder sister. The child nestled in Bei Gong Tang's arms and fainted in relief. Don't worry, Bei Gong Tang said as she patted his back. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu had never seen this side of Bei Gong Tang before. After a long while, Qin Wan finally regained her senses from the pain of losing her spirit weapon. Ignoring the rule of not being able to use spirit energy in the downtown area, she condensed her spirit energy and attacked Bei Gong Tang. Which, do you dare to disregard the agreement? Bai Yunqi shouted. What unjust agreement? This slut dared to destroy my spiritual tool. I want her life. Qin Wan roared. When the surrounding people saw Qin Wan using her spiritual energy, they all hid far away. Instantly, only Sima Yue and a few others were left. When Qin Wan was condensing her spiritual energy, Sima Yue came in front of Bei Gong Tang. She also condensed her spiritual energy and fought with her, scattering the opponent's spiritual energy. You are not qualified to take our Bei Gong's life. Sima Yue sneered. I'm not qualified. I don't know where these small fries came from, but do I still need the qualifications to kill you? As Qin Wan spoke, she once again began to condense her spiritual energy. Sima Yue was about to move when Bei Gong Tang placed her hand on her shoulder. Let me handle my matters. Bei Gong Tang said, you just have to help me carry this child. Sima Yue nodded and turned around to take the child. She carried him and retreated to the side. She was not worried about Bei Gong Tang. That Qin Wan had not even reached the Spirit King level. Bei Gong Tang could destroy her with a flick of her finger. Bei Gong, you can't kill people in Peace City. Bai Yunqi saw that she could no longer stop this fight and reminded her. Can't kill people. Bei Gong Tang furrowed her brows. If she can't die, then I'll just cripple her. After she finished speaking, she quickly ran towards Qin Wan and began a one-sided beating. Pung dash, one by one. Fists landed on Qin Wan's body without mercy. The surrounding people could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. SS? A battle between women is also so cruel. Fatty Chu's mouth twitched and his eyes narrowed. Indeed. In the future, it's best not to provoke women. Wei Ziqi said. I agree. Ouyang Fei nodded. Out of the 5 of them, the 2 ladies were the strongest in terms of battle power. This made them change their view of women as weak. Hit her well. Hit her with 2 more punches. Ayaya. Help me hit her with 2 more punches. Bai Yunqi cheered from the side. She was just short of waving a flag and shouting battle cry. He and the domineering army had always disliked each other. This Qin Wan was even more important. However, men could not casually hit women. So every time he saw Qin Wan jumping around in front of him, he could not do anything. Now that Bei Gong Tang had appeared, no one would say anything bad about a woman hitting another woman, especially since Qin Wan's reputation was not good. How does it feel to be hit by someone? Bai Yunqi saw that Qin Wan was being beaten by Bei Gong Tang to the point where she could not retaliate and laughed loudly. Bai Yunqi, you don't dare to fight with us, the domineering army, so you let a woman come and help you. What kind of bird are you? Qin Wan was beaten to the ground and shouted at Bai Yunqi. You still have the energy to curse. Bei Gong Tang finished speaking and stepped on Qin Wan's right hand, saying, you usually use this to hit many people, right? How about I cripple it today? Slut, you dare. Qin Wan was even more furious when she heard that Bei Gong Tang wanted to cripple her hand. There was even a trace of fear. Why wouldn't I dare? Bei Gong Tang laughed coldly. She exerted force on her foot and Qin Wan screamed. Ah, you actually dare to cripple my hand. Ah, you slut, I'll kill you. Ah, Bei Gong Tang dug her ears, saying, what are you screaming for? I merely stepped on it and didn't cripple you. You're screaming like a pig being slaughtered. If I see you bullying the weak again, I'll really cripple you. After she finished speaking, she retracted her foot and went to Sima Yue's side. She took the child and said, let's go. Okay, we don't have to care about this kind of fly. Fatty Chu said with a smile. Let's go, we're going back. Bai Yunqi said. Sima Yue glanced at Chongming, who had been watching the show from the side. The latter followed them and left. Qin Wan stood up from the ground and looked at Sima Yue's back view. She said fiercely, slut, I'll definitely get people to kill you all. Young miss, those people's strength isn't low. The mercenary who was beaten came to her side and said, so what? I'll still make sure they don't have a good ending. Qin Wan said, isn't third cousin coming in 2 days? I'll see where these people can run to when the time comes. Third princess wants to come to Peace City? Yes, she doted on me the most since I was young. I'll remember this matter first. When the time comes, I'll let third cousin take action. She'll definitely make them die without a burial ground. Young Mrs. Wise, don't flatter me anymore. Send people to keep an eye on these people. Don't let them find out. Understand? Understood. Young Mississippi Bai Yunqi brought the few of them back to the mercenary group's headquarters. There were many mercenaries walking in and out a European-style courtyard. He brought them directly to his own courtyard and let the injured child sleep on his bed. Sima Yue went forward to check on his injuries. Bei Gong, I see that you don't usually care about anything. Why did you save this child today? Fatty Chu asked from his side. Chapter 183. Bei Gong Tang had been watching Sima Yue treat the little boy. When she heard Fatty Chu's words, she only shook her head and did not say anything. Her gaze was a little empty. Sima Yue applied some medicine on the little boy's wounds and fed him a pill. She then stood up and said, "He only has some superficial wounds on his body. There are no internal injuries. After taking the pill, he will be fine in 2 days. Bei Gong, do you think of your younger brother when you see him?" Bei Gong Tang looked at Sima Yue in astonishment. How'd she know? Sima Yue shrugged and said, "I just wiped the dust off the little boy's face and saw that he looked like you, so I made a guess." Wei Ziqi and the others carefully looked at the little boy's appearance. His eyebrows were indeed similar to Bei Gong Tang's. Bei Gong Tang nodded, saying, "That's right. Seeing him get beaten up reminded me of the time when my younger brother and I were bullied. At that time, I also thought that it would be great if someone could save us." Sima Yue patted her shoulder and said, "He's lucky to have met you. Your brother will be fine. He will wait for you to go back and save him." Bei Gong Tang replied faintly. At this moment, Bai Yunqi walked in from outside and said, "I've already arranged a courtyard for you. It's right next to mine. Is it okay to arrange for the 5 of you to stay in one courtyard?" "No problem. It's good enough that you've arranged a place for us to stay," Wei Ziqi said with a smile. "Then I'll take you there," Bai Yunqi said. "All right." Bei Gong Tang went to pick up the little boy and brought him along with Bai Yunqi to the courtyard at the side. "I've already tidied up your rooms. These are the maidservants who will serve you." Bai Yunqi pointed at the maidservants waiting in the courtyard. "Yunqi, we're all used to doing things ourselves. There's no need for these servant girls." Wei Ziqi said, "Let them busy themselves." "Are you sure?" Bai Yunqi asked. Wei Ziqi nodded affirmatively. "All right then." Bai Yunqi said, "All of you can go back to your previous courtyards." "Yes, young master." The maidservants then left the courtyard. "You just arrived. Take a rest first. I'll go talk to my father, and then I'll show you around," Bai Yunqi said. She had the demeanor of a host. "All right, you can go ahead with your work." Bai Yunqi left, and the 5 of them chose their own rooms. Bei Gong Tang placed the little boy in the room next to hers and waited for him to wake up. Half a day later, the little boy slowly woke up and saw Bei Gong Tang sitting at the table reading a book. He blinked, as if he was in a dream. "Sister," when Bei Gong Tang heard that the little boy had woken up, she raised her head and asked, "You're awake?" "Sister, thank you for saving me," the little boy said obediently. Bei Gong Tang got up and walked over to the bedside, asking, "What's your name?" "Little Two," the little boy replied. "Little Two, where's your family? Why are you outside alone?" Bei Gong Tang patted Little Two's head and asked. Little Two's bright eyes dimmed as he said softly, "Little Two was chased out of my family. They don't want me anymore, so Little Two has no family." "Chased out by your family," Bei Gong Tang murmured. She didn't ask for the reason and only said faintly, "You've been abandoned today, but you'll soar to the sky in the future and make them regret it." The little boy's body trembled. He had always been bullied and despised by others. Hearing these words today, his eyes couldn't help but redden. "Oh, you're awake." Sima Yue walked in from outside and saw the little boy's reddened eyes. She went forward and pinched his nose, saying, "A real man bleeds, but not tears." "I didn't." Little Two sniffled and said, "Little Two, the injuries on your body were all treated by her." Bei Gong Tang said, "Thank you, sister." "Sister, I'm Little Two." Little Two said. Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang were both shocked as they looked at Little Two in shock, saying, "Little Two, why are you calling her sister?" Little Two looked at Bei Gong Tang strangely, saying, "Sister is sister. She's just wearing men's clothes." "How can you tell?" Sima Yue asked. "I don't know. I've been able to see things that others can't since I was young. That's why they all treat me like a monster," Little Two said sadly. Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. Sima Yue took out a stone and asked, "Little two, can you see what's inside this stone?" "Jade. What about this?" "Iron lump." Sima Yue and the rest were not only shocked. What kind of ability did Little Two have? Little Two could feel the subtle atmosphere between Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang and cried, "Sister, don't chase Little Two away." Bei Gong Tang reached out and wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes, saying, "We didn't say we wanted to chase you away." "That's right. The little doll is crying again," Sima Yue said with a smile. "You're really not chasing me away?" Little Two looked at Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang. "You're not lying to me?" "Why would I lie to you?" Sima Yue laughed. "There were people who were nice to me in the past, but after they found out that I was abnormal, they chased me away." Little Two said, "Because I can't cultivate, they all treated me like trash." "You can't cultivate?" Bei Gong Tang said in surprise. She grabbed Little Two's hand and checked it. Then she looked at Sima Yue and said, "His meridians are all blocked. Cultivation required the absorption of spiritual energy into the body and then through the meridians to the dantian. If a person's meridians were blocked, they would naturally be unable to cultivate." "Let me see." Bei Gong Tang moved aside, and Sima Yue sat by the bed. She grabbed Little Two's hand and checked it. The results were the same as Bei Gong Tang's. "How is it?" Bei Gong Tang asked. "It's the same as yours," Sima Yue said. Little Two was very calm and said, "My father used to think of a way, but those doctors and spirit masters all said that my meridians were blocked by iron. There was no way at all. So my father gave up on me. After that, I was even chased out. I'm already used to it." "Little Two, how old are you?" Sima Yue asked. 8 years old. Little Two replied. An 8-year-old child, but they could feel the helplessness in his words. "Little Two, can your family cultivate?" They're all spirit masters. I'm the only one who's different." Little Two replied. "Then do you uncultivate?" Little Two's eyes lit up. He grabbed Sima Yue and asked, "Can I cultivate?" "Yue?" Bei Gong Tang also looked at Sima Yue. If there was a way, then Little Two could cultivate. Adding on his special ability, his life would definitely be different in the future. Chapter 184. Sima Yue nodded, then looked at Little Two and said, "Do you want to?" "I want to cultivate. I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this," Little Two said firmly. "But this method might cause you to be in so much pain that you would rather die. It might even be life-threatening. Are you willing to try it?" Sima Yue asked. "No matter what kind of pain I have to endure, I will endure it." Little Two looked at Sima Yue. He crawled up and knelt down in front of her. "Sister, please help me." Sima Yue looked at Little Two's eyes and knew that he must have experienced many things in the past to have such a temperament at such a young age. She picked him up and said, "Your knee is still injured. Don't kneel." "Sister, you agree?" Little Two looked at Sima Yue. "My method is unconventional. As long as you can withstand the pain, it will work. I can do it. No matter what kind of pain it is, I will endure it." Little Two said. "Yue, do you have any ideas?" Bei Gong Tang asked. Crimson flames can burn everything. Even if the impurities in his meridians are as hard as iron, it will still burn. Sima Yue said, "Burn away all the impurities with fire?" Bei Gong Tang was shocked by this method and said, "Even Chongming can't resist that flame of yours. Will it hurt Little Two?" "He won't be hurt, but the process will be very painful." Sima Yue said, "If his will is strong enough and he can persevere, there won't be a problem." "Sister, if pain can change my fate, I'm willing to give it a try. Even if you lose your life because of this, it's better than muddling along for the rest of your life," Little Two said as he looked at Bei Gong Tang. Bei Gong Tang looked at Little Two and nodded, saying, "All right then. When will you get it for him?" "There's no rush." Sima Yue said, "His injuries have not healed yet. It will take him 1 or 2 days to fully recover. Moreover, I still have to refine an essential pill for him." "Sister, you're also an alchemist?" Little Two asked curiously when he heard that Sima Yue wanted to refine pills. "Yeah," Sima Yue pinched Little Two's nose and said, Little Two, you can't call me sister outside. You have to call me brother. Do you understand? Little Two nodded and said, I understand. Sis, brother, you're different from others. What's the difference? Our family used to have an alchemist, but he was very arrogant. Other than the patriarch, he didn't put anyone in his eyes. His nostrils were raised to the sky. Big sister is not arrogant at all. Little Two likes it very much. Little Two replied, Haha, I didn't expect Little Two to have such a sweet mouth. Sima Yue laughed. I'm telling the truth, Little Two said seriously. Yes, I believe you. Sima Yue rubbed Little Two's head and smiled. The feeling Little Two gave her was very pure. Although he had experienced many bad things, his soul was very clean, making people want to cherish him. Beigong, I'll go and prepare. After that, I'll refine pills for him. Help him apply this ointment again. Also, let him eat one of the pills I gave him in the afternoon. Sima Yue stood up and said, Okay. Beigong Tang nodded. Your big sister Beigong is also an alchemist. Thinking of Little Two's shocked expression when he found out that she was an alchemist, Sima Yue could not help but tease him a little before leaving. As she thought, Little Two was extremely shocked when he found out that Beigong Tang was also an alchemist. He was also puzzled. Why were these two alchemists different from the ones he had met before? When Sima Yue returned, Chongming was leaning against the pillar in front of her door. What's wrong? Sima Yue asked. That child has the blood of a spirit beast. Chongming said directly. Blood of a spirit beast? Sima Yue looked at her surroundings and said, Let's go in and talk. Pushing open the door, the two of them went in. Sima Yue closed the door and said, How do you know that Little Two has the blood of a spirit beast? Smell. Chongming said, Strong spirit beasts are more sensitive to the smell of other spirit beasts. Then do you know what spirit beast blood is in his body? Sima Yue asked. Chongming shook his head and said, His blood hasn't awakened yet. However, his physique prevents him from cultivating, so his blood won't be awakened. Who knows, maybe his special ability is the effect of his blood. Sima Yue said, It's his fortune to have met you guys. Chongming said, I've felt his body before. The impurities in his meridians can't be burned away even if I use my flame. However, if it's that person's flame, it shouldn't be a problem. Speaking of Crimson Flame, Sima Yue recalled her doubts and asked, Chongming, other than fire, you also have wind, right? Chongming didn't know why she asked him this, but he still nodded. You can also control space. Sima Yue said, Yes. Chongming replied, When you were chasing me, although it seemed like I was running forward, you had already locked me into space, right? Sima Yue asked. Chongming raised his eyebrows. How do you know? Sima Yue saw that he didn't deny it and thought that it was true. When she lost contact with the spirit pagoda, it was because he locked her in another space. I guessed, Sima Yue said. She didn't say that it was because she lost contact with the spirit pagoda. All right, can spirit beasts become array masters? No, Chongming replied. Spirit beasts are limited. They can't become alchemists, refiners, or array masters. Then why can you control space? Because of my eyes. Your eyes? Sima Yue didn't understand. What did this have to do with his eyes? Chongming closed his eyes. When he opened them again, both of his eyes had two eyeballs. Chongming birds got their name because they had two eyeballs. Chongming closed his eyes again. When he opened them again, they returned to normal. Because of your eyes, you can use the power of space? Sima Yue asked. You can say that. Chongming said. Different spirit beasts have special abilities with different attributes. For example, I can sense space. Yours has the sovereign flame. I see. Sima Yue said. Then other spirit beasts can't sense space. Not necessarily. Chongming said. Currently, I only know that our Chongming birds can. However, the world is so big. Maybe other spirit beasts have the same attributes. If only I had your talent with space. Sima Yue said enviously. Chongming glanced at her and said, This is innate. You can't be envious. After speaking, he stood up and left, leaving Sima Yue staring at his back. Sighing, she stood up and locked the door. Then, she flashed into the spirit pagoda and appeared in the pill refining room. Master, what kind of pill are you refining this time? Little Spirit appeared and asked eagerly. Ever since Sima Yue could refine pills, he had candy to eat. Now that she appeared in the pill refining room, he was very happy. Chapter 185. Frost Pill. Sima Yue said, "Okay." Little Spirit disappeared after he finished speaking. Sima Yue took out the pill formula for the frost cold pill and studied it carefully. After a while, Little Spirit appeared with a lot of medicinal herbs in his hands. Master, this pill isn't easy to refine. I prepared 2 more sets of ingredients for you. Little Spirit said as he placed the ingredients on the table. Thank you, Little Spirit. Sima Yue nodded at him and began to concentrate on refining pills. The refinement was done in one step, but some mistakes occurred during the fusion process, resulting in the loss of a set of medicinal herbs. This frost pill is indeed difficult to concoct, Sima Yue muttered as she cleaned up the discarded herbs. That's of course. Otherwise, it wouldn't be at the 4th grade, but have the same value as the 5th grade. Little Spirit said, but you, this is your first time refining, so it's normal for you to fail. Yes. Sima Yue meditated for a while and began the 2nd refinement. After failing twice, she succeeded in refining a batch of 4 pills. Seeing that there were still 2 sets of medicinal ingredients left, she simply used them all to refine, and both were successful. 12 pills, not bad. Sima Yue took out half of the pills and gave the other half to Little Spirit. Little Spirit hugged the pill bottle and smiled happily. Less than a day had passed since he left the Spirit Pagoda. It wasn't even noon yet. She went out and saw Wei Ziqi and the others. She greeted them and went to Little Tu's room. Bei Gongtang was currently talking to Little Tuesday. Seeing Sima Yue enter, she asked, "Done?" Sima Yue nodded and walked over. "How's Little Tu's recovery?" "It's faster than I expected." Although Bei Gongtang was not a doctor, she was an alchemist and was proficient in medicine. Seeing Little Tu's recovery speed, he was very surprised. Sima Yue checked on Little Tu and said, "It's all healed. I'll find some time to open my meridians." "Really?" Little Tu looked at Sima Yue in disbelief. "Then let's do it now." Sima Yue patted his head and said, "Not now." "Why?" Little Tu and Bei Gongtang asked in unison. "It's our first time here, so we have to pay a visit to Yun Qi's parents." Sima Yue said, "Previously, I was in seclusion, so Ziqi and the rest did not call for us. I just saw them, and they said that we should go and meet them now." "That's true," Bei Gongtang said. "Older sister, you won't leave me here, right?" Little Tu heard that the 2 of them were leaving and immediately grabbed onto Bei Gongtang's clothes. "No, you're a guest too. You have to come with us," Sima Yue said. "I'm going too." Little Tu was a little afraid of seeing strangers, and there was fear in his eyes. "That's right. You stayed in their house for 2 days. You should thank the owner of the house," Sima Yue said. "All right," Little Tu said in a low voice. Wei Ziqi and the rest were waiting in the courtyard. When they saw Sima Yue and the rest come out, they said, "Let's go." After leaving the courtyard, they first went to the courtyard next door to look for Bai Yunqi. The servant said that Bai Yunqi had gone to look for her father. He even said that if they were done with their seclusion, they could let the servant bring them over. When they came to the front hall, they found Bai Yunqi. Bai Yunqi brought them to the living room and sent someone to look for her father, Bai Yuan Shun. "My father just happened to be at home today, but he was just called over by my mother. You guys take a seat first. They'll be here in a while," Bai Yunqi said politely. "Okay. All right. I've already asked about the auction. It was originally set to be held 5 days later, but it was said that 2 treasures suddenly appeared, so the date was pushed back by 5 days. Pushed back? Yeah, it should be to give these interested people time to gather funds. After all, these 2 items are not ordinary items. The price will definitely not be cheap," Bai Yunqi said. "Were they?" Fatty Chu asked. "One is a black grade, high-level spirit skill, and the other is a 6th-tier pill," Bai Yunqi said. SS-. Everyone sucked in a breath. If these two items were placed in the Lin continent, it would definitely be enough to make people go crazy. Ugly Person has already released the news. I'm sure that there will be a competition when the time comes. Bai Yunqi said. Then who will be able to participate? Wei Ziqi asked. It shouldn't be something that just anyone can go. Yeah. Only third-rate powers and above can go. Bai Yunqi said. Ugly Person has already sent out the invitations. Only those who have received the invitations can participate, or those who have items to auction, or some special people. Who are those special people? Those who have Ugly Person's blue card. However, it said that this kind of blue card is very rare. As for who has it, I don't know. Bai Yunqi said, I think that those who have the blue card should be Ugly Person's distinguished guests, people who want to get closer to her. Will he be able to go when the time comes? Fatty Chu asked. When the time comes, you just have to follow us. We have already received the invitations. Bai Yunqi said, do you guys think that we should also go and auction some things to exchange for some money? Fatty Chu looked at everyone and asked, if you want to play around, that's fine too. Ouyang Fei said, when the time comes, if you see something that you want, you can also bid for it. If you want to auction something, you have to go to the auction house to appraise it. But I haven't had the time to go out these few days. Bai Yunqi said with some difficulty. No problem. We can find our own way. We could just go by ourselves. Fatty Chu said. Yeah, I'll get someone to prepare a beast carriage for you. No need to trouble yourself. We can walk there and take a good look around Peace City. That's fine too. If you need anything, just let me know. I'm really sorry. I originally wanted to bring you around, but in the end, I was entangled with something and couldn't leave. Bai Yunqi said apologetically. At this time, Bai Yunchun and a woman walked in. Sima Yu and the others all stood up. Haha, are you all Yunqi's friends? Welcome. Bai Yunchun said with a smile. Father, mother. Bai Yunqi also stood up and shouted. Wei Ziqi and the others cupped their hands and bowed. Greetings to uncle and aunt. Originally, we should have come to pay our respects to you yesterday, but because Yu is in closed-door cultivation, it was delayed until today. We were lacking in etiquette and hope that uncle and aunt will forgive us. What are you talking about forgiving us? We all heard from Li Kuei that you guys saved Ziqi's life. You guys are the benefactors of our mercenary group. Bai Yunqi's mother, Sun Ran, said with a smile. She looked very similar to Sun Li, but their personalities were very different. She was different from Sun Li's big child. She looked candid and steady. Take a seat. Bai Yunchun waved his hands at everyone. Seeing the little boy standing beside Bei Gongtang, he said, Is this the little boy that you saved yesterday? Little Two greets uncle and aunt. Little Two said obediently. Sun Ran looked at Little Two and said, What a cute and sensible child. Father, mother, Fatty Chu, and the others want to go to Ugly Person to auction something. Do you know what the requirements are? Chapter 186. By the time Sima Yue and the rest came out of the living room, half an hour had already passed. Bai Yuan Chun's personality was very straightforward. Whatever he had to say, he would tell Sima Yue and the others. If it wasn't for the fact that he had something to say, he would probably say a lot of things to them. After returning, Sima Yue prepared to unblock Little Two's meridians. Wei Ziqi and the others called her and Bei Gongtang over to ask about the situation. Sima Yue told everyone what Chongming had said, and they were all shocked. Little Two actually has the blood of Spirit Beast. Fatty Chu smacked his lips, indicating that this matter had greatly stimulated him. No wonder his injuries recover faster than the average person. Bei Gongtang thought of his recovery speed. She had some suspicions before, but now she knew the reason. After all, the medicine they gave him wasn't the best. It would take some time for him to recover. Yue, how long do you need to completely open up his meridians? Ouyang Fei asked. That depends on the situation, Sima Yue said. Anyway, there's still some time before the auction. I'll see how much he can take. If you have nothing to do, you can go out for a walk. You don't have to wait for us. All right. Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang came to the room. Little Two was sitting on a stool waiting for them. Little Two, I'll ask you one last time. Are you really willing to endure the bone-eroding pain? Little Two nodded and said, Brother, don't worry. I'll endure it. All right then. Sima Yue took out a J bottle and said, Take this pill before you start. It will protect your internal organs to a certain extent. Little Two took one and felt as if his hand was about to be frozen into ice. She wondered if the medicine would turn him into an ice statue. However, he still swallowed the pill without hesitation. Sima Yue held Little Two's hand and injected a bit of spiritual energy into his body, catalyzing the effect of the pill. Not long after, Little Two was shivering from the cold. Sima Yue saw that it was about time and said to Bei Gong Tang, Bei Gong, guard the door. During this period of time, do not let anyone disturb us. Otherwise, Little Two's life will be in danger. Bei Gong Tang nodded and stood guard outside the door. Sima Yue took a deep breath and carried the almost frozen Little Two to the bed. Then, she wrapped a tiny wisp of flame with her spiritual energy and slowly injected it into Little Two's body. In an instant, Little Two felt a blazing heat that quickly drove away the chill in his body. After a while, he felt as if his body was on fire. Sima Yue did not have the time to comfort Little Two because she had to pour all her energy into that small flame. She had to wrap it around and burn all the impurities in his meridians. If there was a slight mistake, Little Two would be burned to ashes. That wisp of flame was thinner than a strand of hair. It swam through Little Two's meridians, and after only 3 meridians, it exhausted her. She had no choice but to retract her flames. Little Two did not make a sound. When Sima Yue retracted her flames, he immediately fainted. Hearing the commotion inside, Bei Gong Tang pushed the door open and entered. Seeing the unconscious Little Two and the pale and sweaty Sima Yue, she asked, How is it? I'm only a quarter done. Sima Yue stood up and felt a little dizzy. This time, she had used up a lot of her spiritual energy. It was as if she had used up all her spiritual energy. You don't look well. Go and rest first. I'll take care of Little Two here. Bei Gong Tang said. Okay. Sima Yue took out a pill and ate it, preparing to go back and rest. Yue, Bei Gong Tang called out to her. What's wrong? Thank you. Bei Gong Tang looked at Sima Yue gratefully. What are you thanking me for? I only wanted to help him because he was so obedient and pitiful. Sima Yue said. After speaking, she opened the door and left. Although she said that, Bei Gong Tang still understood that with her personality, she would not do so much for a stranger. She was willing to do this because she had special feelings for this boy. Sima Yue returned to her own house. Her spiritual energy had been drained too much. The pill that she had just eaten was not enough. Hence, she took out the soul fluid and dripped a drop in her mouth. After that, she closed her eyes and began to cultivate. Once the soul fluid entered her mouth, she felt her fatigue disappear by half. It was only until the next day that she opened her eyes. The fatigue in her eyes no longer existed. She went to Little Two's house and saw that he had already woken up. However, his body was still rather tired and could only lie on the bed. You're better? Bei Gong Tang asked. Sima Yue looked at Little Two's pale face and frowned, saying, Little Two's condition is not very good. Do you think that everyone has your abnormal spiritual energy? Bei Gong Tang glared at her, saying, It's already not bad that he can endure it. Sima Yue also understood. After thinking about it, she took out the soul fluid and let him open his mouth. She gently poured a small drop into his mouth. Little Two only felt that the fluid made his body feel much better. He asked, Brother, what is this? Something useful to you? Sima Yue said, Right now, 3 of your meridians have been opened. There are 9 more. According to our tolerance, we still need 3 more times to completely open them. This is only the 12 meridians. If you want to open the other 8 meridians, I'm afraid that it will take even longer. Thank you, brother. Little Two did not know what else to say other than thank you. You're really considered lucky. Those meridians of yours were almost completely blocked. Furthermore, every single one of them had a lot of impurities. If not for the fact that you met my flame just now, you would not be able to cultivate in this lifetime. However, if not for Bei Gongtang saving you, this would not have happened. Sima Yue said, "Thank you, sister and brother. I will not forget your kindness." Little Tu said, "That's right. Look, your sister Bei Gong is not much older than you. Since you want to thank her, why don't you repay her with your body?" Sima Yue teased. Sima Yue hit her and said angrily, "You're talking nonsense again." "Ha, I'm just kidding." Sima Yue said, "I plan to go take a look at Ugly Person later. Do you guys want to come along?" Bei Gongtang looked at Little Tu and said, "You guys go ahead. I'll stay here and take care of him. He will definitely be alive and kicking in the afternoon. Bring him along." Sima Yue said, "All right, we'll call you guys when the time comes." Sima Yue said as she walked out, "Ugly Person. This name is really weird. Who knows, maybe the boss is an ugly person. That's why he gave him such a name." Just as Sima Yue said, Little Tu was indeed much better in the afternoon. He could get out of bed and walk. Fatty Chu and the others would occasionally visit Little Tu when he was recuperating. Hence, Little Tu was not shy when he saw them. Knowing that they were going to Ugly Person, Sun Ran sent people to prepare a beast carriage for them. The few of them did not want to reject her good intentions, so they sat on the beast carriage and went to the busiest street in Peace City. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.